It's a little bit of fun, actually.
It's funner than what you think.
Oh, look. Yeah.
The first time I done it, I was real nervous.
Yeah.
And then at the end, everyone just goes, "This is really fun. It's funner than what I thought."
Yeah. There's, oh, what? Telling people your opinions?
Easy.
I hate that.
All right, so episode 7, I've got Ken Dorsey, Burnie councillor and business owner. Do you want to give everyone like a 30-second rundown of who you are and what you do?
Well, yes, obviously. I'm Ken Dorsey. You just said that. What do? I have a registered training organization, Workforce Development. I live in Burnie. I'm on the Burnie City Council. We'll digress a little bit. I'm from originally El Paso, Texas. Now that was about 40 years ago. I'm now a citizen, which I became a citizen on the 4th of July. I can't remember what year, but I thought that was my Independence Day. I have 5 children here, and well, they're not here. There's one that's living in the U.S. There's one that's now in Mexico. And 3 here in the state. That's about it. That sums up my personal life at this point.
So how old was you when you moved to Australia?
I came here when I was 28.
Did you come by yourself?
No, I was then married to someone I'm no longer married to.
Yep. Any kids?
Yes, 5.
No, back then.
Yes, 2 children.
Yep.
She was an Australian, and that's what brought me here in the first place. And, you know, in full sincerity, I never planned to stay, but circumstances created new circumstances. I bought houses, had children in my life, and now I don't think I'd rather be anywhere else.
Was Tassie your first stop? Is this where you planned to move?
Oh, I don't really know, because how I ended up here in the first place was just world traveling. I was circling the globe, and I spent 4 months in New Zealand hitchhiking around New Zealand. And so after that, everyone in New Zealand said, you should go to Tasmania. So I came to Tasmania, and really fate took over.
So that's it? This is where you stopped?
Well, no, went traveling through Asia, did a yacht, worked through the Straits of... I can't even remember the name of the straits. Actually, even saw Vietnamese refugees at the time. Bali before it was Bali, which means it was, we were living in Bali for $2 a day. So ended up did circle the globe, went and lived in the States for a couple of years, and came back here for what we thought was going to be 6 months. And that was 40 years ago.
So at this point when you was touring the globe, did you own businesses, properties or anything back in the States, or you sold everything up and off you went?
I sold everything up and off I went. I had generally broke at all times, and when I went back, I was broke.
So what was your main motivation? Just see the world?
It's funny what the motivation is. All my friends went to Europe, and they did their 3-month sojourn to Europe, and I guess probably to be a little bit different, I thought I'll go the other direction. And I bought an around-the-world ticket, and I was still amazed at that point in time the ticket was $2,000, and an around-the-world ticket now is $2,000. But at that time, I'd been saving for 3 or 4 years because I was only making $70 a week. So, let's see. Yeah, I think it was an attempt to be different from everyone.
What was you doing when you said you was making that amount of money back there?
I worked in a warehouse.
Yep. Just as like a stockman kind of?
Yeah, stockman, and then going to uni. So I was going to uni and working as a stockman part-time.
What was you working at uni on there? What was your study?
Well, I ended up with a degree in education, and then went back and got a degree in business and accounting.
Yeah, right. So did you want to be a teacher?
I did, and then I taught for a year, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, and I wasn't making as much money as I hoped I would make. So I looked at where I could make money, and I went back and became an accountant. And I came here before I'd finished my qualifications to become a CPA in the U.S., and I came back here, and I got a job with a Big 8 firm here, Big 8 accounting firm here, and went to University of Tas to upgrade my qualifications to become a CPA here.
Was that much of a course? Like, you didn't have to redo the whole course, did you?
No, I didn't have to redo it all. I just had to do the relevant ones that weren't...
like Australian tax law and stuff.
Australian tax law. I had to do 4 courses.
Yeah, right. So what would that been, like a year or not even?
Yeah, about a year.
And you done that here in Tassie?
Yep.
So was Burnie your first touchdown spot when you came to Tassie?
No, my first touchdown spot was Smithton. I caught biz jets, which in the old days, biz jets used to fly into Smithton for $25 from Melbourne, so I caught that, and then I started hitchhiking out of Smithton, and really changed my life forever. If someone said, "You want to come over to the house? We're having a party tonight," and I said yes. And then I ended up with a job in Smithton, and eventually ended up in Burnie. So my ex-wife was from Burnie. So
So did you meet her in the US?
No, I met her here.
Oh, when you was on your
when I was traveling around, and so I asked her if she wanted to come traveling with me, and she said yes, and that went pretty well.
So how long did you go traveling before you came back to Tassie?
Well, not that much longer, probably 6 months more on the road, and then went back to El Paso, worked for a while, and she worked for a while, and decided we come back here, visit her family, and see everyone. And I said we were thinking 6 months maximum.
And you just never left.
And just never left.
Yeah, cool. Did you ever think about living anywhere else in Tassie or Australia, or did you just wanted your wife to be home kind of thing?
Well, that's a tricky one, actually. I lived in Launceston for a period, and lived in Somerset. But Tassie was life grabs hold of you sometimes, and you are, I don't know, a victim, or I don't know what the operative word would be, but you become a victim of circumstances. So I tell people sometimes it's a series of unfortunate occurrences, and really that's what keeps you there. And then you have family, and that keeps you there, and then they're in school, and that keeps you there, and then you own a business, and I've owned businesses for quite a while, and that kept me here. So
you kind of just make it work if you're stuck here.
Well, and probably the best thing I did is I sort of had my foot in both countries for a period of time. I thought I was always going to move back to the U.S., so I wasn't making decisions here. And once I decided that I was staying here and this was it, my life got better. And really, at some point in time, you have to make a stand. And that's what I decided to do. I'm here. I'm going to make a stand, and this is it.
So did you just like the culture or the lifestyle better in Tassie, or?
That took a while to get used to. It was. I remember walking around when I first got here in Launceston, and there wasn't trading on Saturdays or Sundays, and I thought, what do people do here? Because I was used to 24-hour shopping 7 days a week, and everything being open all the time. And you had to do some work on your house, and the hardware stores aren't open. You couldn't. Grocery stores closed. It was actually very interesting. And if you wanted petrol, you had to go find the petrol station that was on roster. So. Yeah, it was fascinating.
What do you reckon the hardest thing was for you to adjust?
I would say with everyone would be the same, is loss of friends and loss of family. For any immigrant that comes here, people don't understand that they're giving up everything that they know, and they're walking into a place that they know nothing about, and you don't have friends, you don't have all those acquaintances, you don't have the things that you're used to, you don't have things that you just do subconsciously that you don't even know that you're doing, but all of a sudden that's not there.
Sometimes that's a good thing though, and sometimes it's a bad thing, I suppose. Like you've kind of can reinvent yourself to be whatever you want to be.
Yes, but you are who you are. So yes, I reinvented myself, and actually it took me I said once I made the decision to stay here, it changed everything, and I started being who I think I am, and that's tricky because who are you? But I did start started being who I think I am. And before I was always a little bit apologetic, or I was always, the number of times people said, well, you're not Australian. Well, you're not this and you're not that. Well, now I am. So you can't say that. And now I'm going to be, my normal, aggressive, aggravating, obnoxious person that you don't want to know.
Do you get that a lot? Like I remember in the council elections, you had the people going, "Oh, he's not even local. He's from the US." Like, is that a thing?
Probably not as much now as it was originally, and sometimes it gets on to you. And when I ran in Burnie, I just moved to Burnie, but I'd worked in Burnie all these years. I'd lived in Somerset. So when I came here and they said, well, he's not from Burnie. Well, I've owned 6 or 7 houses in Burnie. So yes, I'm from Burnie. I've worked in Burnie for the last 30 years. So yes, I'm from Burnie. But it does get thrown at you. But that's all been dropped now. Because now we have someone who was born in Zimbabwe or South Africa. I'm not really sure where Dr. Bully was born.
You've got Amina as well. She's Canadian, is she?
No,
or US?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, right.
I've never asked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know she spent time somewhere in the U.S., but I honestly don't know any of her personal details.
Yeah. So going back to when you first came to Burnie, what was your first job here?
I worked for Price Waterhouse as an accountant. And then I went to Fitzgerald's where I was the administration manager, and then worked for a shipping company and ended up at TAFE.
What was your... Oh, teaching at TAFE.
Yes, teaching at TAFE.
Yeah, right.
So even though I didn't like teaching to begin with, I was teaching at a lower socioeconomic, primarily Mexican school along the border to where you're teaching adults is a lot better. It's a lot different.
More respect, I suppose, or more willingness to learn. Like
more willingness to learn.
They've chose to learn, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. When you go to TAFE or you go to something like this, you have a willingness to learn. Whereas if you're forced to be in a high school when you don't want to be in a high school, and everyone has to go to grade 12, and I would say 50% don't want to be there, but they have to go.
And you're just their babysitter.
Well, I would say anyone who's taught high school knows that feeling.
So who do you reckon has the better school system, Australia or America?
Oh, that's
like knowledge-wise.
I would say that Australians have a better opportunity to learn. Now, this is about choices. You know, there's teachers are good everywhere, and they spend a lot of time learning, and they're trying to impart their knowledge onto other people. Now, it depends on the student. If you're willing to learn, the information's there. And really, it's not that hard. But people don't want to put in the effort. And that's the surprising part. You know, you can give someone a test and the answers, and they still fail. And you go, how's that possible? All you have to do, I've given you the answers. I've given you the test, and these are the answers. All you have to do is learn those, because when I give you the test, it's going to be a blank test. And they still fail.
Yeah. And that's nearly all on them, isn't it?
That's all on you.
Just
I mean,
care factor.
You have to. You make choices in life, and if you choose not to put in any effort whatsoever, that's what you get out.
So, how long ago did you start your first business here in Burnie, and what was it?
Oh, trying to think. Probably 20 years ago, and it started out as a consulting firm working with small business because I was a NICE. I ran the NICE course in Burnie and. Well, pretty much statewide at one point in time.
What's the NICE course?
It's the New Enterprise Incentive Scheme. So if you're unemployed, you can apply for. You can start a business. So you have to put in a business plan, and you have to go to a course for a period of time and prove that your business is going to be successful. And if it is, and if you pass that, they will give you unemployment benefits for a year, on top of what your business earns. So it's really a good deal. So I ran that for quite a while, and when I left that. I became the ATSIC business agent for the state, and when I was doing that, I also ran a private consulting firm, and that morphed into being a training company. And after the training company, we opened a child care center, which was Groovy Kids, which was in Somerset, and we recently sold that. That's probably 4 years ago now. So, yeah, I think at the peak we had about 32 employees between us.
Yeah, right. So. The training company that you started back then, is that the one that you've got today?
Yeah, that's still going. So that's been going for 15 years. So we're doing something right.
So what do you focus on in training, let's say it's staff, is it?
Well, we train other people's staff. So anyone who does an apprenticeship or a traineeship has to go through a registered training organization. So you either go to TAFE or there's numerous private ones. So what we concentrate, primarily we do a lot of retail, hospitality, child care, children's services. We do some community services, business. So pretty much the ones that everyone uses on a daily basis.
So how does that work? Do you have your own classrooms and teachers and so forth,
No.
or is it on the job?
It's all on the job. We can do classroom teaching, and we do classroom teaching, but most of it's on the job. And so what happens is the employer gets rewarded for putting this person on a traineeship. So they might get $4,000, they might get more. It just depends on what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's an easy sell. Do you want your staff to be better trained, to be better at the workplace, and we will give you money to ensure that happens. You have to give them up for probably, we'll say 10 hours.
So what are they doing in that 10 hours?
Well, they've got study and they do training in the workplace.
So training in the employee's workplace?
Yes. So what we do is just sort of smooth over skills, because any employee that you've got, you know that you're training. You can't take someone on and not train them.
Yep.
So, from cash register use to dealing with customers to dealing with complaints, to stocking to rotating stock, we more teach them the underlying reasons why you're doing it. You might, that pretty well sums it up. We're giving them all the underlying reasons why they're doing things.
You don't have like a module in common sense, do you, that you can teach staff, or?
No, and I don't know anyone that I could use to teach it.
That'd be the number one seller. I think,
Yes, exactly. Well, that'd be
way.
a tricky one, actually.
So, when did you first decide to run for council, and what brought that on?
You can't bring about change if you don't get involved, and that's really what it started with. So I actually ran in the Wynyard Council. I ran for the Wynyard Council when I was living in Somerset, and I think I was in 4th place with primary votes, and I think I ended up about 10th because I didn't get any preferences because no one knew me. So after that, and it was just a series of circumstances or whatever, we purchased a house in Burnie, and we moved to Burnie. So same theory is if you're not involved, you can't. It's easy to screen from the outside. So, and it's easy to criticize everything, but when you're involved, you actually have to make the decisions and you have to represent people. So in Burnie, when I ran, I went door to door for 3 weeks and knocked on everyone's door, and I got elected. And I have ideas. And so really that's I've been putting forward ideas for about 6 years, and really what I want to do is change the culture of Burnie. I want to move it forward. I have no personal interest in this. It doesn't benefit me financially. It's I actually find enjoyment in it, and I want to leave a legacy that at some point in time they'll say Ken Dorsey did this.
So, is it 6 years now that you've been on council, or a bit
Yes.
longer than that? So, what was the main thing, if you could pinpoint it, that you wanted to change?
Well, that's a tricky one. The waterfront. There's a lot of little things. Actually, I wanted cheaper parking in Burnie. I mean, everyone wants that. That's the number one bugbear. And right now we've got 1 hour free parking for a year, and there's still people on council that are opposed to that because it actually costs money.
So, with that, what's the pros and the cons? Like, what's your con?
Well, the con is that it costs. We have to find that money somewhere else. That's the con. So if we give the first hour free parking in the multi-story car park, which we are, that would cost us $200 and something thousand a year. I'm just pulling a number out of my head, but it's not far off that.
Yep.
The pros are it makes Burnie a more attractive place to stop and shop.
It is a bit of a ghost town lately in there, isn't it?
Well, it's I don't know about a ghost town, but really we are lacking a bit of vibrancy, in my opinion. And so, at certain times it's quite vibrant, but we don't have. COVID's changed a lot of things, and it's changed the way people move around. It's changed the way people come into town. It's changed that we don't have 80,000 visitors coming in on ships. It's changed tourists from the mainland coming here. And what's happened also is as soon as they open the borders, a lot of people wanted out for a period of time. So, what we found during COVID is that Tassie by itself is very self-reliant. And businesses weren't going bad. They were actually getting a lot of business from locals, and locals were traveling. And I think the tourism, where they gave the money to spend locally at tourism operators, I think that was very successful. But once all that fell off, and we've gone back to where the borders are open and no one's coming in, it's changed it again.
So, how many people voted for the free parking?
I think everyone did this time. But there's still objections to it, and it's been.
So, is there objection the 250,000 that?
Well, that's more what the objection is.
Is that pretty much the only objection?
Yep, money.
And
because money's tight right now. I mean, really, we've been giving away a lot of things, and Burnie's an interesting location because we want to be regional, and everything wants to be regional. So we're running these regional facilities. We have the art gallery, it's a regional facility. We have the museum, it's a regional facility. We have the function center, regional facility. We have the pool, regional facility. But Burnie ratepayers pay for it. So it's nice to say that we're regional, but we're paying for everything.
So, how long has it been free parking now?
Well, just in the multi-story car park, it's been, since probably April, May.
And how are you gauging if it's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, that's a good question. What we're looking at is usage. So that's about all we can look at. And usage is up, but not substantially. So it's not having the effect that I think maybe we thought it would. But the other thing is people in Burnie, and I would say most small towns, like parking. If they just want to make a quick errand, they just park in front of where they are. And there are people that will go around the block 6 times and wait for a parking spot rather than go to the multi-story car park, go through the problem of going through, it's a job. And the other one is Kmart the Kmart Kohl's car park is the first hour's free if you shop down there. So you go into Kohl's. I mean, you might go into town, do something, go pick up something at Kohl's and get your free parking.
So have you noticed, can you track the like the street meter usage as well?
Oh, that is done. We know how much money's coming in. So
has that gone up or down or stayed the same since the hour free parking?
Actually, I don't know. I can't tell you. But the good question.
Yeah, because that'll kind of tell how people are changing as well. Like, because in all honesty, in theory, the meter usage should go up. Hypothetically, if people are using the multi-story and using the meters instead, because that's what it's about, isn't it? To free up the street front.
Well,
meters
part of it's to free up the street part, and the other part is just to do the right thing by ratepayers. I mean, the ratepayers pay a reasonable amount of money, and I think we have the highest rates in the area. Well, once again, we're supporting all these regional facilities, so the point was to help them.
Have you thought about doing like a ratepayer rate? Like, you know how they get tip tickets?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're saying. That's been discussed. Yeah. And another thing that's been discussed is that retailers stamp tickets. We give you...
Like Kmart do.
Yeah, like Kmart, or, I'll use Suzanne's. I don't even know if Suzanne's is still there. But if you go in and shop at Suzanne's, they park your...
They stamp your ticket.
They stamp your ticket and say, here's the first hour. So, it costs them $1.70 to make you happy. And really, people like little things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting as well to find out, like, the negativity versus the positivity, how people run with it. Like, some people just go, nah, it's going to cost too much money, don't do it, rah, rah, rah. And they grasp that so strong they can't see the positive in it.
Yeah, true. Well, like I said, being on council or being in a government is weighing up the options and weighing out what's best for everyone. Now, my role and the way I see my role is to represent the ratepayers of Burnie, period. And if this is what the ratepayers of Burnie want, well, then that's what we should do, and we should find a way to do it. But everyone can have everything that they want in Burnie. And that's true here in Wynyard, and it's true anywhere you go. Everyone can have everything that you want, but someone has to pay. So the money has to come from somewhere. You can have an Olympic pool in Wynyard if you want. That's easy. But your rates are going to go up by $200-300 a year.
So from where you sit, who's going to pay for the missing hour parking?
Well, we have to make cuts elsewhere. So, something else has to suffer. Or we have to, at some point in time, raise rates.
So which way do you reckon that will go at the moment? Do you reckon the 1 hour free parking will stay?
Well, that'll be interesting. I would say that there's 3 or 4 votes in favor of it, and there's 3 or 4 votes against it. So yeah, that'll be a line ball.
So where are you sitting?
I'm for it all the time.
Yep.
But once again, we have to find the money from somewhere else.
So where you're sitting, where do you think the money should come from?
We've been talking about this for the last 6 years, cutting cost. But how far can you cut costs before there's no more cost to cut? And all of us can reduce staff, but then someone has to do the work. And if you keep cutting costs, something has to miss out.
Yep.
So once again, you can have whatever you want, but you've got to find the money somewhere.
So that's when the ratepayers are going to have to pay more for.
Yeah, but we've been reducing rates by 1% for the last 3-4 years. So, at some point in time, they're going to raise. And I'm sure that'll come up at this next, when we start doing the budget, someone will say we have to raise rates.
How do you reckon that will go down?
That'll be a line ball again.
So how much are we talking, like a raise, say, per average house?
Oh, it's not a lot of money. We'll say $70. I'm just throwing out a number because honestly, I can't give you an honest number.
So for the whole year, $70 extra?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a lot, but for pensioners and other people, $70 is a lot of money. Well, we'll just say $100 for a better example. $100 is a lot of money to a lot of people. And sometimes, I tell my children this. Since I've been in a business, I said sometimes $10,000 isn't much, and other times $20 is a fortune. For some people, $100 is a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. Depending on what day you catch me, it's a fortune.
So, have you ever, how do you go about being on everyone's good side? Like, say, for example, you say you represent the ratepayers. How do you choose what ratepayers to represent?
Oh, that's a good one too, because maybe the ones that make the most noise. Because really, that's a problem. But I think everyone wants to reduce what they have to pay, and I would say it's universal. The funny part is in town, meters. I would say most businesses support meters. And the other thing that's happening in Burnie is that once the university opens, all that parking, all that free parking is going to go, because the university's landscaping a lot of it. So much of the parking that people are using now is going, and the university's got so much claim on the other part. So, there's still going to be parking there, but it's going to be further away. So I think that'll increase usage. And one of the things I've advocated for is early bird parking at the multi-story car park. Say it's $5 to go up, up to the top floor. They do that all over. They do that in most major places.
So is the top story full the majority of the time, or not really?
The multi-story car park at its peak is about 40%.
So if you raise rates to get the 1 hour free, what if you offered something like 4 hour free parking for ratepayers on the top 2 stories?
Well, right now the top 2 stories are private rentals.
Yeah.
So, but that can change. That's
because then technically they're not raising their rate $70. They're paying $70 a year for free parking.
Yeah.
So once the university takes,
but then a lot of people will say that they're not using it. They catch a bus to town. Yeah.
It's hard as well, because everyone wants to spend less, but they want better facilities. But they don't want to pay for it themselves. They'd rather Joe Blow next door pay for it, and they pay less.
Exactly.
So how do you work out what you want to endorse? Is it a bit what you think would be good for the community, or how do you come down to that?
It's a little bit of both, and one of the things that I sort of pride myself with is that I listen to people and I put their ideas in front of council. Do you think this is a good idea? If you think it's a good idea, and if some of them I don't think are. It's tricky because sometimes I'm not sure they're good ideas. And the funny part about being on council is sometimes I'll put up something I don't think is necessarily a good idea that someone gave me, and it passes. I go, well, that didn't make any sense. And other times I put up things that I think are a lay down misere and that, anyone with half a brain would pass, and they failed. And I go, that doesn't make any sense. So really, it's fascinating and it's fun, and that's what makes it enjoyable, is that you don't know
what's going to
pass, and you don't know how everyone's thinking. And
it's kind of like business, isn't it? Like, you had come up with a really good idea and you think everyone's going to like this, and you do it, and then no one likes it.
No, exactly.
And then you do something for a joke and everyone likes it.
That was a good idea. There's some truth in that. So
you don't have to answer this one either, but is there inter-council tension? Is there someone that literally won't vote for something just because you voted for it?
Accusations have been made to say that that's true. I hope that it's not.
Yeah.
And I think people vote on the merits of whatever idea it was. But that accusation has been made numerous times, and I like to think that the people on council are sincere and they're there for the right reasons. And if they don't like an idea, vote against it. If you like an idea, vote for it. So I don't like to think that.
Because there'd be a certain thing where you need to put your own shit aside to do what's better for the bigger group, yeah?
Well, I think so.
And do you think that happens in a general idea, or some things you're like, hey, that shouldn't have gone like that? Or have you ever had it where you've actually gone to another council and said, hey, can you put this up? Because I know if I'm going to put it up, it's not going to go through.
I've done that.
Yep. So although you hope it doesn't happen, you kind of have an inkling that it does happen.
Well, I have an inkling that it could happen.
Yeah.
And I have gone to another council and said, put this motion up, and we'll see where it gets to. And many times it passes. So I don't know that it wouldn't have passed if I didn't put it up.
Maybe you need to get someone else to put up the motorbike parking and see how that goes.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That I don't think that'll ever go. And
How come? What's the fight against it?
well, there are people on council who believe that everyone should have to pay for their parking. If a car has to pay for its parking, so should a motorcycle. And there's some logic in that, and actually I agree with that. But there are numerous places around town that we could put a motorcycle that a car won't fit.
It's like dead spot.
Yeah, dead spots. Let them park there. And, three or four motorcycles can fit in one spot. So you just allocate a couple places for them, and they park there.
So what's that go like? I know I used to ride a motorbike. You get a ticket.
Yep.
Where can I put the ticket?
Well, I did see someone the other day that had some duct tape and taped it to their, taped it to the bike. That becomes a problem where you put it under. There's usually a little strap on the seat. They put it under that. It's an issue.
So,
but when we're not talking about hundreds of motorcycles, and this is what really surprises me, we're maybe going to help 8 or 10 people. It's, and for the odd times, there'll be people that bring their bikes.
Not
in.
only that, you'd be motorbike friendly.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't take up much space. We have all the places underneath the pine trees on the waterfront. That you can't park a car there, but you can fit 4 bikes there. So there's 4 trees there. You got 16 bikes, and you haven't done anything. There's a place down at the end of the waterfront also, which is just pavers. They're there for no reason. They serve no real purpose. Put the bikes on there. We have there's numerous places around town that you could put a motorcycle in it and no one would be affected.
So how many yeses and how many nos is that sitting on?
That's probably 6-3.
And what does it need? Like, can it be like 4-5? And
It can be 5-4. 5-4 wins.
So as long as there's 5,
Yep.
you win.
Yep.
So you need 2 more people to jump on board.
Yes.
And then you'll be able to park your bike in town.
Yes.
So their argument is everyone should have to pay.
Yep.
No other argument.
Nope. Why should we treat motorcycles different? And there's some logic in that, and I actually accept that as a valid reason. But at the same time, Hobart has free motorcycle parking, and more people bring in motorcycles, and they're all over the place. Launceston has it. Devonport has it.
So how come they're not charging push bike parking?
Well, that's yeah.
Have you ever asked that to them?
No, I don't want to go there because they might introduce it.
I don't know if they would.
No, I don't think so. Most people park their bicycles. We have bike racks, and we have actually a safe in the multi-story car park that they can park their bikes in and lock them up. But most people who ride their bikes to work park them inside their buildings.
Do you reckon do any of these no voters, do any of them ride a motorbike?
No.
Do you reckon they'd just, how you're sitting in traffic and a motorbike lane filter's up beside you and you get that dickhead that just pulls out just enough for him to not to go past you? And they're like, why should he go past?
Yeah, because he's smaller.
Yeah, because... And
he can.
Yeah, but they don't even think that. Like, he can go past, he's freeing up a traffic spot from back there where he was.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And he's on a motorbike. So do you reckon it's like... I don't know, it's just like, I have to pay, so you should have to pay too.
Well, I think that's it.
Like, it's envy.
Yeah, well, I mean, and really, I even look at Facebook comments on it. Everyone should have to pay. Why should a motorcyclist get away for it for free? Because we have spaces that no one's using that they can use, and a car won't fit. That's the reason.
And nothing else is going to go there.
No, and it's not hurting anyone. There's no harm in this to anyone. And it benefits very few people, but no, I don't know if it's jealousy. I don't know if it's...
Why don't they just go get their motorbike license and get free parking?
Because a motorcycle license now costs $1,000.
Does it really?
It's not cheap to get a motorcycle license anymore.
There's like 3 courses you've got to go as well. I went 3 years ago and I'd done me L's, and stupidly enough I let it expire. And then I went to do it again. I was like, nah, fuck that. That's way too much. So I just sold the bike and didn't worry about it.
Well, I pretty much the same story. I did my motorcycle license and I let it lapse. And when they said, well, you have to do the course again, it's going to cost $1,000. I thought, well, no.
You got to do that course twice as
You'd
well.
have to do the course. So I've got a 4-wheeler, but I'm hardly using it now. And yeah, I just turned my joys to other things, which was, I've got a jet ski and a 4-wheeler. So
It's jet ski. That's boat license.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, it is jet ski license now, isn't it?
I don't know. I've still got a boat license, so I just keep renewing it.
I think a boat license can do both, but you can actually get a jet ski license that can't do a boat.
Well, I've got a boat license.
Yeah, right. How often do you get out in your jet ski?
Well, not often. Actually, I've loaned it to the Cradle Coast outriggers. I just said, you can use it as much as you want. But now they aren't using it as much as they thought they would use it, and they want me to come pick it up. So I'll go pick it up, and I'll probably sell it now. It's
So where about today, the Cradle Coast outriggers?
Cradle Coast outriggers are just across from Yachty's.
Oh, yep. So is the jet ski housed in that shed?
It is there now.
Yeah,
I had it up in my previous residence, which had big sheds and so forth. And I don't know how it came up. Someone asked about, I don't even know where it came up. I said, you can just use it. I'll insure it. I'll pay all the cost. You can just use it. So
you just look after it for me.
Yeah, you just look after it for me, and you can use it all you want. And surf clubs can't use it. I would do the same with a surf club. Just use it. It doesn't bother me that.
How come they're not allowed to use it?
Oh, something to do with safety regulations and
that's
so
like their
forth.
policy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair enough.
So I'm happy for someone to use it, but now that I've said that and people listen to this, I'll get all these phone calls saying I'll use it.
Yeah, I'll come get it for you.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, but
it's one of them things, isn't it? Like I found it with a motorbike. Like it was fun and it's good to drive, but then like when you're taken somewhere or you want to buy something, you just can't take it.
it's just another. It's
like a toy.
It is a toy, and it's a fun toy, and you get a lot of fun out of it. And I've had motorcycles, and
It's an expensive toy though.
yes, it is an expensive toy. Just to insure it every year is about $1,000. So I don't.
You could just go rent one.
Yeah, it'd be cheaper.
So how often do you think you've used your jet ski in the last 12 months?
Not once in the last 12 months.
Yeah, right.
So, it probably sat for about 2 years now. But before, I do have 5 children, so it got flogged for a while. And it's like any new toy. We'd go down to Lake Rosebery, or we'd go out to the ocean, or we took it all over the place. And you pull skiers with it, and it was a lot of fun. But everyone's sort of grown up, and
It's too cold in Tassie.
well, that doesn't have anything to do with the cold. It's more just making the time to do it. And
So do you have a boat?
no,
Did you used to have a boat?
no, I just went with a jet ski.
Yep.
I thought that looks like a good toy.
Your four-wheeler. Do you own a farm? Is that why you had the four-wheeler? Or
I did. Well, my son, who lives overseas, comes home on a regular basis, and he wanted one to go touring around places with him, so I split it with him. I said it wasn't actually a fair split, but that's that's another story.
Dad tax.
Yeah, dad tax. But he used it for his 3-4 weeks that he was here, and then I've ended up with it. And I just had 10 acres, and it actually came in handy because I'd cut my own wood, and I pulled a trailer with it, and I got to do all the things that Tasmanians do, and actually enjoyed it.
So do you have a road bike now, like a motorcycle?
No, nothing.
So the only reason you're fighting for motorbike parking is you think it's the right thing to do?
I think it's the right thing to do. I think we have spaces in town that are suitable for a motorcycle, that aren't suitable for a car, that are just dead spaces. Let someone use them. They're pointless otherwise.
It's common sense.
Yeah, it just seems basic to me, but basic common sense is not so common to everyone, and maybe my common sense isn't common to them.
So you don't reckon that'll ever pass?
No.
Did you think free parking would pass though?
Well, I did get first hour and a half free parking for a couple of months.
It was Christmas time, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
you've been trying for a while before then, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I have been trying. And really the funny part is the time you don't want to give free parking is at Christmas time, because people are going to park anyway. You want to give them free parking in the months that people aren't coming into town. So you want it in June, July, and August. You want cheaper parking to draw people into town. Does free parking entice people to town? That's the real question. We can't verify that.
For me personally, I'm gonna say no. Like even when there's free parking, I'll still, especially before I used to illegally park because I never carry like cash. But now there's the app, I park and I actually pay for it quite frequently. But yeah, free parking for me, it wouldn't make the difference.
No, does it does it entice people to town? I think the answer is probably no.
Yeah.
But does it make it? Do people feel like they're getting a good deal? It's like you go into somewhere and the price is $11, and they say, just give me 10. You think you've gotten a real bargain.
Yep.
And so it's a feel good thing. Does it entice people to town? No, I actually don't believe that. But every shopkeeper in town wants the first hour free in the multi-story car park. I can't say every, but most. And most shopkeepers in town want the meter still there.
Do you reckon the meters, they like that there mainly because of the turnover?
Yeah, and really, you're not meant to park on them for an extended period.
What's the standard meter length in town?
An hour. Some are 2 hours, depending on where you are. But if you're in the CBD area, it's an hour.
Do you think that should be lowered?
Well, there's a thought process. No, just because there'd be too much outcry. But now that the app's there, you can just keep extending it. But Hobart now has sensors underneath your car. So if you feed a meter, they'll book you. So the last time, it wasn't the last time, probably 3 trips ago to Hobart, I was feeding a meter and it cost me $80. They said, well, you didn't move the car. And I said,
how do you know?
Yes, how do you know? Because I did know how they knew. And I did fight it, but I lost. And so they sent me all of it. Yes, I was paid. Yes, but I'd parked there for over 3 hours, and that's not what meters are for. The meters are there to have quick turnover. And the other thing that we found is we made free parking on Sundays because business owners were complaining that their staff were parking on the street, which stopped customers parking on the street, which is a fair point. So we made the multi-story car park free on Sundays to get staff from parking in front because there's no one monitoring the parking. So they park right in front of their business and no one can park there, which, the alternative is you go park in front of someone else's business and no one can park there either. So, hopefully they're all encouraging their staff to go park in the multi-story car park. It's free. And it gets them off the street, and that allows people who want to come into town, do some shopping, do something really quickly, go in and get something to eat, and leave.
So when this big parking battle erupted, I think it was like 2 years ago or last year or whatever, I just thought, if you're making the multi-story first hour free, why don't you drop the meters down to half an hour? Because if you're parking for an hour, you're walking somewhere, aren't you?
Yep.
You're not going into one shop, you're going for a walk. So the multi-story car park, people mainly park there if they are going on a big shopping spree. And that kind of frees up your meters for ducking, going to the shop, grab me Panadol or me bread and then take off again.
Well, my idea, which was probably 5 years ago now, is, and I think it was $1.60 to park on the meters at that point in time. I said, raise those to $2, give the first hour free. So if you want to park on the street, it's a premium. If you don't park in the multi-story car park, you get the first hour free. So
how did that go?
Not well. So we just kept everything the way it was, and we continued to keep everything the way it was. So I still believe that. Now, maybe the idea is that we put the street parking up to $2.50, and that unless you really want that easy convenience, well, you have to pay for the easy convenience. But if you don't want the easy convenience, you can just park in the multi-story car park. The first hour is free, but I also think we have to raise the price of the second hour. Now, the other suggestion has been is that we give the second hour free. So you're going to pay for the first hour, but you give the second hour free, which there's some logic to that because then you stay in town longer, or if you just want a quick trip in.
You park in the meters.
Yeah. But that gets complex. The first hour free is easy. And what happens in Hobart, and I travel to Hobart on a regular basis, that if you want to park for an extended period of time, every next hour keeps getting more expensive. So, the first hour was free. Yes, the second hour cost me $2.50 or whatever. The next one, it's up to $5 something. And you go, well, that got expensive. But it's a lot cheaper than the $80 for sitting on a meter.
The other thing you could do as well is, how they do incentive to buy more. So if you pay for 3 hours, you can park for 4 hours kind of thing.
Yeah, well, there's a thought, yeah.
Because then a lot of people, they won't actually be there for 3 hours or 4 hours, but they're paying it to get the value.
Yep.
Do you think you've made as much change as you thought you would being on the council? Is it what you thought it was?
It's harder than I thought it was. And everything is slow, and really that gets painful. Because things that we say we're going to do, sometimes it takes 2-3 years. And, we look at the progress in Wynyard and Somerset now. Those are 10-year processes. That didn't just happen. The playground that's in East Wynyard or West Wynyard, that's a process. What's happened at Somerset? I was on the committee that was doing that. That was 10 years ago. So all of these things are a process. And then we wait for money from someone, or, the one thing that we're doing quickly in Burnie is the pump track. That's the quickest thing I think I've seen happen in Burnie, which is probably less than 2 years from start to, from formation of ideas to happening.
Why do you reckon that was such a speedy process? Was it cheap?
Oh, it's about $450,000.
Is that cheap for a big project like that?
What's cheap?
Or did just more people want it to be done?
I think more people just wanted it to be done. It was, we react to community concerns, and really we need to be. A lot of times, I think we need to have the appearance that we're doing things, not necessarily that we're actually accomplishing anything, but we have to have the appearance that we're accomplishing things.
So, do you just have like a whiteboard on the wall with lists of stuff that you've got on the go and what needs to be on the go, and they've just gone, hey, pump track, that's easy, let's smash that one out?
Well, I don't know why that went so quickly, actually. That surprises me, and I think because everyone on the council wanted it. So everything got put into motion, and one of the requests was, my request was we want the best one in Australia, but I think we're going to end up with the best one in Tasmania, which is a fair feat. If you're going to do it right. And a lot of times you only do things to a standard you think it's necessary. But I'd like to exceed that, and let's do the best in the state. And every time if you do the best in the state, now there's things we can't compete with, like we can't compete with Lawn Systems Playground, because that's $10-15 million. We're not going to compete. So let's find things that we can compete and be better.
So who paid for the pump track?
Council.
And is that just rates and all that?
I'm not sure if we got any grant funding. I'd have to double check, but it's something that every councillor was behind.
So how do you know what to bring up and when to bring it up and what not to bring up? Like, for example, the other day, what did you call it? Flora in the city?
Yeah, the plants in the city.
Yeah. So what made you come up with that?
Well, that's something I did 4 years ago. So what happened is we used to put pot plants in it, and probably twice a year someone would throw the pots out onto the street, and we had to water them all the time. We kept the bark in there, but they were in their pots. And so the council officers decided to cement them in. Now, I got that stopped, and I said, we want plants in it. We don't want cement in there. So that went to council. I think that lost 5-4 or 6-3. I can't remember what, but councillors decided that they wanted cement in there.
Was that a cost thing?
Well, part of it was work health and safety, and they said, we'll have to water it and we'll have to do this. And part of it was cost, but filling them in cost $7,000, $7,000 or $8,000. So the Business Northwest, the Chamber of Commerce, also said, why don't, they said, can we put planter boxes on top of it? And I talked to the engineer, and, he said, well, there's only a thin shell of cement there anyway. So once again, put up the motion to knock the cement out and let's put plants in there. And I said, there's a lot of long-term plants you can put in there. You don't have to water them all the time. I said, I got a garden full of plants that I've never watered, and they're still growing. There's a lot of resistant plants, and we've got plants, and they were worried about vandalism, but there's plants in front of greens all the way along that row there on Marine Terrace. No one vandalizes them. So why can't we put them in the CBD? And this time only one person voted against it. So the people who voted against it last time voted for it this time. But we have a different council. We have different people on it.
Does that mean it's going to go ahead?
Yep, it's going to happen. But, this is a real test for
the speed.
Speed. I was joking around, and I told the general manager this, that I ran into someone in one of the cafes in town, and they asked me how long it was going to take to do that. And I said, 4 years. And the mayor was with me, and he said 5. So, hopefully we'll see some action pretty quickly, because what we want to do is, if we pass a motion and we decide to do something, let's do it. Let's not wait 5 years. And sometimes a moment passes, it's like, oh, this is going to happen. But
we forgot we meant to put flowers in.
Yes, 2 years later, we're going to do it now. Well, who cares now?
So what's behind the process in that? So what's the delay?
Well, the delay is that the council officers have a lot of jobs on their plate already. I mean, just the maintenance of a city has its own needs, so they're all busy. So there's numerous jobs going on. You got to maintain all the parks. You got to maintain the civic center. You got to maintain the pool. You got to maintain all of these things. The verges on the road. You've got to maintain. We're doing road work all the time. That's a constant.
So is this going to put more pressure on them to maintain more plants?
Well, hopefully what we're looking at is hearty Australian plants that will survive without being watered on a regular basis. It's not a cement base. It's down to a dirt base below. So you plant them and let them grow. Excuse me. So like I said, I have wild grasses in my yard, and I can tell you since I've been there, which is, I'm in a new location, which is less than a year. I've never watered them, and they're very hardy, and so it's not hard to find Australian grasses and things like that will grow and just add a little bit of vibrancy to the city, a little bit of life.
So you just want it to be not so cold.
Yeah. I think we can do better with trees in town. There's a lot of things, and we all talk about it, but we haven't come to a final conclusion on what we're doing.
Do you have like a policy that you'd love to get passed, but it's just not passing? Like what would be your favourite at the moment?
Oh, I can't think of anything right now. I've been winning a lot lately, which is really, the last 4 years, the first 4 years, there were serious forces against me. And I don't know that they were against me. Maybe the ideas were bad, but I felt like sometimes I felt they were personal. But this council's different. So, at this point in time, I'm actually finding it hard to come up with new issues because everyone's agreeing. I'm not used to that. Now I feel like I've got to, I've become the conservative one on council for some reason, and that surprises me.
So do you guys get like a budget that you can allot to new ideas?
We do have a budget, and that's very complex. I mean, we've got a $35 million budget, and we break it down to, it's times $200. And so there's so much information, and, so much of the money's already allocated. So really we allocate every cent that we get.
So how do you know what to spend money on? Like putting flowers in the road. Like obviously some people think there's a lot more bigger issues out there. So how do you come to the realisation to spend money on that?
Well, I look at a council, I look at a city like my own house. There's just things you have to do to make it better all the time. There's just little things you have to do to make it better. And I actually think Bernie, it's far from perfect. Don't read this into it, but it's not a bad place to live. And there's not a lot wrong. There's things that we can do to make it better, and little things make a difference, and little things make a difference to the way you think. And I think everything's a cumulative. It's cumulative. The little things all of a sudden become big things, and they just keep getting better, and the city keeps getting better. So we've still got the Waterfront project coming up, which is going to be huge. I think Bernie's going to start going ahead leaps and bounds.
So how long do you think the Waterfront project will take before it's finished?
5 years. No, I'm joking. We've just gotten access to the rail line. So, that's to be discussed at this point in time.
So where do they sit at that? What are they doing with the rail line at the moment?
I think we've taken possession. I think we now have a right to do what we want with it.
And what is that at the moment? Because there's been walking tracks, bike tracks, reinstate the railway.
Well, the railway's a dead issue. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Right now, the train tracks, the erosion's so bad up near Bernie High and in the Wynyard and so forth, it wouldn't hold a train anyway. And no one wants to build the bike track yet because I don't know if it'll hold bikes. I don't think it'll collapse by any means, but the rail lines are exposed. So there's nothing underneath them. So they're not going to hold a train. So, and the other thing is the train line doesn't go around the back of the university area anymore. And in Wynyard, it's cut off again. So it's got limited opportunities.
So the bike track idea, was that just fill the track with cement?
I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. So I think probably they'll pull the lines up and just start from fresh. And the reason that's taken so long was one, getting a hold of the rail line, and two was the coastal erosion. What are we going to do about it? And no one wants to pay for it. So Bernie doesn't want to pay for it. Wynyard doesn't want to pay for it. We think it's a state issue. So I think the state's coming to the party. They're going to, they'll put rocks down and so forth, and then who tends it after that? But you can't build the bike path until you solve the erosion.
So back to the Wynyard Council and the Burnie Council, you talked about amalgamation. Where do you reckon that sits at the moment? 5 years?
That was funny. I don't know. And really the point is you have to have two willing parties to come to an agreement, and we don't have two willing parties. Now, I would suggest that most people on the Burnie Council think it's a good idea. And I would suggest most people on the Wynyard Council don't think it's a good idea. And really it's about, and I understand both sides, and people in Wynyard want to represent themselves. But, the interesting thing is 80% of the people, if you go statewide, favor amalgamations. But if you ask people in Wynyard, do you want to amalgamate with Bernie? I'd say 80% would be against.
Not only that, a lot of the Wynyard people spend most of their time in Bernie.
Well, they do.
Like, you go to Bernie to go to Kmart. Most of them go to Bernie for work. And like you said, your swimming pool regional, the arts regional, so you guys are kind of open to it. I think Wynyard councils is a bit backwards.
Oh, I don't like to think that. Actually, I like a bunch of them. So, and really we joke around about it, and I say it every time I talk to them. I never back down on what I believe on that. It's fear, fear of losing something, fear of not having something. It's, that's just my guess. And they think that, we won't have local knowledge. And I've given them solutions. I'll say, well, we'll keep the councils 4-4. You 4 councillors from Wynyard, 4 councillors from Bernie, and the mayor's independent. So that's elected from the whole, and the deputy mayor would have to be from the other municipality. So we'll just use Robbie Walsh. If he was elected mayor of both municipalities, of the singular municipality, well, then the deputy would have to come from Bernie, which seems pretty fair. And so what we do, the little things, most things happen in a council anyway. We like to think that we're more important than probably what we are, and we do make the decisions that affect people's lives, and there's no doubt about that. And that's primarily with the budget sessions. Are we going to do this, and how do we represent that?
So their biggest issue, do you think, would be they are scared that the bigger Bernie city will swallow the Wynyard's budget and knowledge and whatnot? Or are you talking about having separate budgets or the same budgets?
No, it'd be the same budget. And really the reason to do it is that if you combine the money, there's still all the same basic cost. There's so many costs. There's cost to run a city. Now, and one of my favorite ones to use is that we have our own rubbish trucks. So we collect our own rubbish. Wynyard outsource it. So it costs them, I don't know, I said, I don't know the exact figures, about $350,000 a year. Why don't they use ours? Why don't we just buy one more and then we do both municipalities? And we just share it. This is easy. So right now, the catchphrase is shared services.
Why doesn't Bernie buy another one and rent it to Wynyard?
I agree. I agree.
Because then you could use the 1 hour free parking. You've just made it up with Wynyard's rubbish.
Exactly. But, Wynyard has very close relations with Circular Head, which...
So how far did you want to spread? Did you want to merge with Circular Head as well?
Well, I think there should be one Northwest Council.
But how far, like Devonport, or that's a bit too far?
Well, Devonport. Well, you're gonna run into all sorts of problems, and really, I don't know how far to go with it. I think Bernie and Wynyard are so close that it because Somerset is probably more Bernie than it is Wynyard as far as You know, when I lived in Somerset, I did a survey on who shops in Somerset. No one from Wynyard shops in Somerset. Everyone from Burnie and Somerset shop in Somerset. Yala shop in Somerset. But people from Wynyard that shop in Somerset, very, very, very small.
Yeah, so what if you went Wynyard and Circular Head merged and Burnie and Ulverston, or is Ulverston covered under Devonport as well?
No, Ulverston's its own, and Ulverston, actually, the Ulverston's I don't know if they're a bigger municipality with numbers than we are.
Because they go, what, Penguin to...
They've got Penguin and they go
Leith?
Penguin. Yeah, probably Leith.
Yeah, right. So you got shared services.
Well, shared services are the catchphrase now. Let's start sharing services. And I think now, because of COVID and everything else and everyone's budget's getting tighter, that shared services will become a lot more prevalent. That, you know, why do we need two separate accounting people in both locations? Why don't we just, one municipality does all the accounting functions? That's not hard. You know, we share the rubbish trucks. We share, we share the crews. You know, if we have a job in Burnie, you do the job in Burnie. If you have a job in Wynyard, we share the crews. So I think there's economies of scale, and we wouldn't need as many staff, which is another reason why some people would say it's not a good idea, because there's jobs involved. Now, are we paying rates to keep people in jobs, or are we paying rates to get services completed? Or both?
So do you reckon it'd be more like the Burnie people would want to focus on building Burnie up, and then Wynyard people would want to focus on, like, how long do you reckon, say for example, best case scenario, they amalgamated, how long do you reckon the feud between the two will merge out?
Oh, I don't know. See, I think that's what the fear is that people in Burnie only want to help Burnie. But like I said, once again, we're getting into how important are we? Most of the stuff that happens is going to happen anyway, which is rates, road, and rubbish. That's 80%. You know, the rest is discretionary spending. So you have to look at the needs of each municipality and make your determination on that. Now, we're looking at doing a new basketball stadium. Why couldn't we do one between the two of us and build a multi one? You know, I don't care where it goes. I mean, put it in Somerset. I don't care. What we want is a good basketball facility that services this area. What we don't need two. Wynyard's looking at one also. So we're going to build two, and we're 20 minutes apart.
See, that's what I mean. Like, you don't care where it is, but I'm sure other councils will, like, it's coming to Burnie, or it's going in Somerset, or it's going to Wynyard, or let's put it in Somerset because it's in the middle.
Yeah.
But you don't want thought like that. You want them to be merged.
Well, I think that we could, build a multi-serviceable center that would serve both municipalities. So now, everyone would care where it goes, and there'd be a major debate over it, and everyone would be fighting in it. It's like, where should the hospital go? Ulverston. Where should the airport go? Ulverston. Because it's central, but it's not what's central. And like I say, we're only 20 minutes apart, so it's not like anything's a distance. And
it'd build up Somerset, I reckon, because everyone will put it in Somerset. It's in the middle. put it in Somerset. It's in the middle.
Everything would end up in Somerset.
Yeah. Let's move, new hospital in Somerset.
Yep. Airport.
Yeah. If it amalgamates, I reckon you want to go buy land in Somerset.
Exactly.
So, quick question, side note. How come the Wynyard Airport's called the Burnie Airport?
Because Burnie owned it.
How come?
Well, I don't think Wynyard had an interest in it. I don't know the history of it, but we own 51% and a private company owns 49%. So this goes back to Paul Arnold, and I think there was talk maybe of closing it at one point in time, and Burnie stepped in and bought it.
So is that Burnie Council that own it?
Yep, Burnie Council owns it.
So you pay to maintain that as well?
Yes, and we pay rates to Wynyard.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, once again, now I have talked to a couple to Wynyard councillors about it. Why don't you buy the other 49%? And we'll sell you 1%. So we own it 50-50. So it's the Burnie Wynyard Airport. Why?
They don't need to, I suppose.
Well, they don't need to.
You're paying them rates and they've got it here.
Yeah, but the airport, it's not necessarily a losing venture.
Yep. Other than COVID.
Well, that definitely affected it, but it plays a vital part in the Northwest Coast.
So how do you reckon COVID affected the council? Did that affect the council much, or it's all just?
Well, it's affected the operations of it. For us, for the Arts and Function Center, all of that's been virtually shut down for a period of time. The art gallery's just recently opened. The museum's still closed, but we still have all the staff, so we have them doing other things.
You need to give them all sledgehammers and send them out in the streets and smash up that concrete.
Smash up the concrete, exactly. I think it's a little bit bigger job than that, but so they're all gainfully employed. But as far as the services, it's slowed it down a bit, and I think we all slowed down from the COVID thing. And I think it gave us a little bit of time to reflect on our own lives. Do we want to be, in the rat race all the time and just chasing our tails?
Yeah. So, did that affect your business as well, COVID?
Oh, substantially. But I said I try not to look for the things that went wrong. I try to look for the things that went right. It actually gave me some time, and it really it's been hard to get back into the full swing of things. That's been the difficult part about it, because I've actually enjoyed the time. I enjoyed just cruising into work when I wanted to, and yes, I wasn't making any money, but I was still gainfully doing things. But right now, actually, business has taken off. We're probably busier than we've been for years.
Do you reckon that's attributed to people retraining because they're out of work because of COVID? And
no, it's because the government's giving a lot of incentives. So right now, if you put on a new trainee, the government will give you an extra $5,000. If you transition someone from casual to part-time, government will give you $5,000.
Job maker scheme, isn't it?
I don't know the name of it. And for a period of time, they had 100,000 places. If you signed someone up, they would pay half their wage for a year. So if you put on a new employee, they would pay half your wage for a year, half their wage for a year. So that's a hard deal to pass up, plus whatever state incentives there were. So there'd be another, probably, if you put them on full-time, there'd probably be another $4,000. So business is booming because you have to put them on a traineeship. So yeah, it works out very well for them. It works out well for me. It works out for my trainers. There's not a downside here, except that the government's paying. But if you look at it in a bigger scheme, if they've got 100,000 people that they're putting into new jobs, either they're going to be paying them unemployment benefits or paying half their wage for a year. Half their wage is cheaper.
Yeah, it would be. Especially if they continue to work after the...
Yeah, so it's a win. It's clever.
So going back to council, would you suggest everyone run or go on council, or is it what you thought it was, other than it being harder?
It's hard to get things done. It's
so for example, if you were to say the task, your weekly tasks as a councillor, just a quick dot point, what would they be?
Well, I can tell you this week I was on the Natone Reserve Committee, so I went and saw that. I went to a council meeting. I went to the Friends of the Museum. I went to the Friends of the Art Gallery. I went to a library opening. I went to a CARES meeting.
Would you have done all this if you wasn't a councillor?
No, I wouldn't have touched any of them. It's a great way to become involved in the community, and it's what I actually enjoy. I go to virtually everything that I can go to. I can't make it to everything, but I also went to the Aboriginal Day in Ulverston. I volunteered park run every Saturday.
Do you run it?
No, I used to. I hurt myself, so now I just take all the pics, and I'm pretty content. I cruise down every Saturday morning about 8:45. I take all the pictures, go home, edit every one of them, and post them.
So all of that, is that something that you've done because you thought you've had to be in the public eye, and then you've turned out to like it, or have you always been into socialising and getting out and about?
That's a good question. No, with 5 children, I wasn't into the social eye that much. I mean, my kids all played basketball, and they played football, and they played soccer, and they did surf club. So really, that's where my time was. And so I volunteered in all of these things, and I look back and think I would never do that again. But I enjoyed it at the time. So maybe this is filling the hole of doing all of those things for all of those years. But Actually, I enjoy it. I just started going to these things because, well, it's my job, and I look at being a councillor as a job, and my job is to represent people, and and to represent the ratepayers. If I don't know what they're doing, how can I represent them? So I don't know what their concerns are. So I now know from this week, I know what CARE's concerns are. I know what the Aboriginal concerns are. I know what the art gallery concerns are. The museum concerns are. So. If you don't go, you don't know. So I go to them.
So is that the main way you keep in contact with, say, your flock? Or you're pretty big on social media. So how do you know what ratepayers want, do you think?
Well, I don't really have a flock. How do I know what ratepayers? I listen. And I'm not saying I listen to the right voices, but I listen. And when people ask me things, I try to get them answered. And I try to find out the answer to whatever it is. And like I said, sometimes they give me ideas, and they might not be good ideas, but they're their ideas. And sometimes they pass, and that always surprises me. That wasn't it. But I represent people. They say, this is a good idea. I said, I'll test it. Right now, I'm debating this one personally. It's the Penguin Observation Center. They want toilet facilities, which I think is a fair question. I think the skate park needs toilet facilities, but how many toilets do we need in Burnie? We're going to have more toilets per square kilometer than anywhere else on the planet because everyone wants toilets. You go down to the waterfront, we've got them at the surf club, then we've got them, if you want, Fish Frenzy's got toilets, then you then come down and there's one now at the end of the boardwalk. Now they want one out near the Penguin Center and they want one near the skate park. So that would be 5 toilets within a kilometre and a half.
Plus you've got some at the Burnie Park.
Yeah, at the Burnie Park. So I know it's 5 kilometres from the beginning out to Kui. So within less than 2 kilometres, we would have 5 or 6 toilets. I mean, how many toilets do we need? And they all cost about $150,000.
So where are you sitting on that? Are you still on the fence, or?
Well, no, I'm not on the fence because what I will do is, I haven't done it yet, but I will ask council to put it in their budget considerations for it, and then I leave it up to the rest of the councillors. Do you think this is worth it?
Do you put forward both toilets, or you think, look, I only think one will pass, so we'll just put one here, or?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, maybe we should put one strategically placed between the skate park and the Penguin Observation Center, but we have 10,000 people going to watch the penguins every year. 10 to 12,000 people that go down and look at them every year. Now, once again, one of the things they say is that for children and so forth, they need toilets. But having had numerous children, one of the first questions you ask before you go somewhere, have you gone to the toilet? So you don't run into problems.
So how far away is the Penguin Observatory from the toilet at the end of the boardwalk?
500 meters.
And then how
600 meters. Yeah.
How far away would be the closest toilet from the skate park? Would that be the Burnie Park?
That'd be the Burnie Park, and they can go into the Burnie football grounds, into the West Park. Now most of them just go over to the railway tracks.
Yeah. So these toilets that cost what did you say, 150,000? Are they big ones, little ones?
No,
double.
It's just what they cost to make them vandalism free and all the other things. They're about 150,000.
Yeah, I suppose. Did you see what happened to the ones in Wynyard the other day when they?
I heard about them. I don't know.
24 hours they were open and they vandalised, and then down at the Guthrie Gardens ones they actually got set on fire on the inside.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So when people go and look at the penguins, is it seasonal?
Yes.
Why don't you do a toilet block that can be moved then?
Well, I think we put a portaloo there one time, but they weren't happy with that.
No, like I'm talking like an actual self-contained, like say for example, a little cabin.
Yeah.
Tilt tray, like a shipping container or whatever. Put it there in the season and then put it at the skate park on the off-season.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, I don't know.
Because the skate park one would get used all year round, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would get your... skate park gets a lot of use.
It's hard to find out where to stop, isn't it?
Well, that's it. How many, since I'm older, I don't know how I ever got through life without a toilet every 500 meters.
Because then someone will be like, I need one at the end of the jetty at the yacht club.
Yeah.
Because I can't walk all the way to Yachties or wherever the toilet is.
No, we're putting one in there.
At the end of the jetty. just cut a hole in the jetty and say, there's your toilet.
Exactly, a drop box. No, there are toilets going there and showers. Because really, South Burnie Beach is used a lot.
Yeah, I can understand the showers. Toilets.
It gets massive use, and Yachties doesn't want everyone going in there and using the toilet. And the Yacht Club didn't like everyone going in there and using it.
There is some public toilets, though, just on the other side, near the lights, just as you go in.
Yes, that's too far. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
And this is, once again, how hard is it to go down? That wouldn't be 200 meters, 300 meters?
No, probably not. Why don't you just move them? Just move them closer to the beach.
Pick them up. Well, that is also a caravan dump point, and
yeah, it is too, isn't it?
It does sit on top of all what do you want to call it? All human waste goes through that area. I think I don't know how many stories deep it is. It's 5 or 6 stories deep.
So is that like the waste treatment centre that sits on?
Well, it's where it goes to before it goes to the waste treatment center. It all pours into there, and then it reaches a certain level, I think, and just pours out.
Oh, so it's like a settling pond. Yeah, right. I've never known that.
Yeah. So every once in a while, depending on the weather and whether they've got the anti-smell devices working, I don't know what they do there. The give it aromatic smells. Every once in a while, when it's really hot, it smells.
It would. It's same as when you come around the roundabout.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. And it
But like that, so shit happens, literally.
well,
like it's got to go somewhere.
And it does have to go somewhere. And for the 20 days a year, it's almost like it's every day, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened. And, it's 20 days a year.
It's funny how the local residents around there complain, but they moved in there when it was already there. Like, I seen in the paper the other day, I don't want to offend anyone, but I seen someone complaining that the port was too noisy.
Oh, we get that on a regular basis.
See, what are you going to do about that?
Well, we are actually trying to do something, and Toll is Toll's working on it. I don't know what the actual solution was. It's something to do with on-site power as opposed to using their own generators. And so I think the same thing. You move there, you move next to a port. I mean, I live near the port also, so I mean, it doesn't. Well,
I grew up on Mount Hicks Road near the roundabout, and we had planes flying over our head, and you got rid of it. You just got used to it.
Yeah.
The only time you didn't, every now and then, like a Hercules would fly in. You're like, oh shit, here comes a plane. But other than that, you don't even know that there's a plane coming. But like, my parents bought that house knowing that it was near an airport, and it'd be like if you buy a house near an airport and go, these planes need to stop making noise.
Well, I'm virtually inner city, and I'm very close to the highway, and I want to ban air brakes on trucks.
Noisy exhaust.
Hot
dog exhaust.
Exactly. I think
turbos.
I think every tire should have foam rubber on them so that they don't make any noise when they go past. I don't hear it. I hear it at 4 a.m. because a lot of trucks go through at 4 a.m.
Even then, though, you'd hear it half awake, wouldn't you? Like you'd know what it is. And
if it's really loud, I hear it and I just go back to sleep. I mean, and we've lived there for 7 or 8 months. Most of the time, I don't hear anything. I would say 95% of the time I don't hear anything. For the 5% I do, it's because of where I live.
What would be the weirdest motion that you've been asked to put through?
Oh, I don't know. I've put through so many that I can't honestly say. I did want to turn the waterfront into, develop South Burnie Beach. I think we should do that. And one of them was maybe make a marina over there, which isn't, I don't think it's a dumb idea. So, we're living on the ocean. A lot of people have boats. We don't have a marina.
It's kind of already set up for it too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the weir out there. Let's just build off of it.
You could extend the jetty out a bit as well.
Yes, extend the jetty and turn it the other way.
You could even put like the burnout pad out there as well. For all.
Yes. I think I have asked about that too. Well,
How's that sit with you?
oh, I think it's a good idea to have a burnout pad somewhere. But you know what we have is probably I don't want to quantify numbers. I would say maybe 50 to 100 people that like to do burnouts on a regular basis. We're not talking thousands. You know, everything that we do is on a very small scale. So we've got a few people that make a lot of noise, and it upsets a large number of people. You know, they see the skid marks and they think, look at this. And it's no different than, and you usually get someone like Robbie or Steve or whoever crossing their arms and looking at it in disgust. Look at what they've done. And the advocate like that, and everyone gets up in arms and says, oh, they shouldn't do this.
I swear they use the same pictures over and over again.
I don't know how many times I've seen Robbie with his arms crossed.
And I think it's the same burnout as well.
It's but really burnouts in some areas they are a problem, and I've advocated to put speed bumps in, but the council officers don't want to put in speed bumps. But you know, once again, I get down to Hobart on a regular basis. They're all through Moona. They work. I don't see skid marks all over Moona.
Well, where do you think the trouble areas are in Burnie, mainly for burnouts?
Oh well, a lot in Upper Burnie. I mean, and I'm sure there's numerous areas, but one of my sons lives in Upper Burnie, and I go up there and. You know, I see the streets and...
Do you think a burnout pad would help it?
I don't know. You know, these are the things, you know, how much money do you go spend? And, you know, there's a lot of people that go out...
Like, did you ever, when you was younger, did you ever do, like, burnouts on the road?
Oh, my word.
So, before you did one, were you like, oh, let's go out and do burnouts? Or were you like, oh, look, there's a nice-looking car pulled up beside me, I might show him a burnout?
Well...
Like
you know, now, well, I'm not embarrassed by it or anything. I don't know if I'm not proud of it or it's just what you do when you're young, you know. And I think it's a male thing more than a female thing that, you know. And we all wanted powerful cars, and we used to do street racing, and you know, so I empathize with them a bit. But now that you know, the world was different then, you know, and now we're in a small place and people notice.
And the cars are a lot powerful now as well.
Yeah, there's a big difference altogether. And, you know, so I can't get too angry about what they do, but I don't like it.
But, like, going back, if you had a place to go, say when you was younger, if you had a place to go to do a burnout, would you go there to specifically do a burnout, or would you just keep doing the odd one or two on your favourite corner on the way home? Or would you go?
Probably the one or two on my favorite on the corner on the way home, because the other's a job, you know. And really, I think they are crimes of convenience. And why I say that is that you just think I'll do this now, you know. And it's not something. Oh, I'm going to go down there and do a burnout. It's just that I think I'll punch my car right now and see what happens. But everyone thinks they're going to kill someone someday. And maybe they will come kill someone someday. And actually, I believe what they're telling me. But we live in this could happen world. This might happen. And, you know, the one day it does happen, we all say, see, I told you. But for the number of burnouts that are done on a daily basis, it's very, very rare. And every once in a while, someone loses control of their car. They do. And there's no doubt about that. But it's not necessarily going to happen. And you're not going to normally be standing on the sidewalk watching them. And
it's not only just a burnout either. Like, it could be wet, or your tyre could pop, and your car rolls. Like,
well, you don't know. So we always like to think the worst. And I remember this goes back quite a few years ago on Facebook. There was a kid who was booked on the Bass Highway doing 160 kilometers an hour, and someone wrote in and said, "I could have been on the road then." And it happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, are you normally on the road at 2 o'clock in the morning? No. You know, I mean, had you been on the road and had he been speeding and had this happened, maybe that would have been dangerous to you, but you were home in bed.
Not only that, like...
But we get outraged over things that had no bearing on us whatsoever.
If there wasn't any cars on the road, he probably wouldn't have been doing 160.
No, exactly. I mean, if the road was at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's no one on the road. And the only person who's really endangering himself at that point in time is themselves.
Yeah, and probably the cops, because they're the only really ones that are driving around.
And, you know, I mean, people do stupid things. And really,
So do you think a burnout pad would help that at all?
I don't know. It might make it worse. In the fact that they're now used to doing burnouts and they're enjoying this, and they go out and do the burnout pads, and then they come into town and they practice what they've learned.
Or they're actually going out of their way to do burnouts. Like, say, for example, you come from Elvis and you're like, oh, hang on, burnout pad's full. Let's just go up to a car park and away we go.
If you aren't harming someone and no one's any chance of being harmed, is there a problem? I don't know. I mean, these are, it's the same thing. Does a tree make sound when it falls in the, if no one's around, does it make noise? I don't know. But
going back to Facebook, do you think it's made people more whingy?
It's made people more aware, and it's given them a voice, and for that, it's positive. I mean, really, people are frustrated. They want to have a say. They want to be part of the democratic process. They want to be involved, and by them commenting, you get the mad radicals on one side, and you get the haters, and I call them haters. But they're just passionate and they're angry, and they want things fixed, and you get all sorts. And I actually look at it as a positive, as long as it's used positively.
So, do you reckon they're just bored?
No, I think they have an opinion, and depending on the day, they're frustrated.
Have you ever just wanted to, I don't know, just write back to someone and say, fuck off, mate, like, you don't even live in Burnie. Like, you live in Launceston, why are you fucking telling me what to do in Burnie?
No, I never actually think that, but there are times that I want to say really stupid things, and I really hold back from doing that.
How do you filter it? Have you ever wrote something and then you read it and go, no, I won't say that, I'll say this?
Yep, all the time. And every once in a while I actually get angry, and there are times that I've written to people and I just tell them what I actually think, and I don't swear, I don't do this. I try to be honest with people all the time, but sometimes I get a little bit tired of it, and I don't want to be positive all the time. No, that's a dumb idea. No, I disagree with you 100%.
So how do you filter through the bullshit?
That's different.
Like, are you writing back to everyone?
I write back to most people. I don't, if I don't, it's because it's just a time factor.
Do you block people?
I've only ever blocked one person, and he's back on. And it was only because he just
kept going.
Just kept going. Let it go. It's over. And I'll tell you what that was about. And it was on Anzac Day, in the middle of COVID, I went to the Senator in Burnie.
I seen that.
Yeah, and I took a picture of it. And I said, and this guy got on, and he gave me a hard time about going to the Senator. I said, I'm out for a walk. I'm by myself. There's no one here. Where's the problem? Well, you were told to stay in. Well, I'm out for a walk. And he just wouldn't accept it. You're setting a bad example. No, I'm not. I'm out for a walk. They tell us to get out and exercise. I'm by myself. I didn't see a problem there. But, there was... and maybe I can try to understand there. Technically, probably I am setting a bad example by going out and going to the Senator and showing my respect, but I didn't think so.
It's hard to put your personal life and your public life together in a way as well. Like, sometimes, like, yeah, you've gone and you've taken a picture and you've put it up. Maybe you shouldn't have put it up, but like you said, you're paying your respects and you thought it was okay, but it's this guy's opinion that it wasn't okay. And it's like, well, that's your choice. Like, don't go down there. Like, I remember, I think seeing you walking into town and people were like, what are you doing walking around in town, Ken? And you're like, I actually moved in town. And how do you choose when to justify it?
I don't actually think of justification. I just tell people what I'm doing. I mean, I had moved into town then. I was renting a place on Princess Street until my house became vacant because there were renters in it. And my office is in town. I'm walking through town by myself in an empty street, walking to an office where no one is. So to that, didn't seem like an issue to me. I'm what am I going to do sitting in my house all day? And other people were out exercising, other people were out walking, but it really we were living through an interesting period in history where everything was frozen, and frozen in time, and people were staying inside the house, and it was really a phenomenon to walk into Burnie and not see.
It was like a ghost town.
It was like a ghost town, not to see a person in there, not to see a car moving around. And this is at 9:00 in the morning. You'd shoot a cannon up Mount Street or whatever, not a car on it. And really, it was fascinating. And in some ways, I'm really, really pleased I went out for a walk just to experience that. Now, if COVID's down and there's no one in town, I'm a little bit worried. But, for the time, we're living through history and we're making history. And I feel a close association with that. And it's one of the things that I really like about everything that's happening is that we're living through history. And this will be written about in 100 years. They'll be talking about COVID and coronavirus and how everyone got through it and how they survived.
Everyone's adapted quite well, I think. But it could be the beginning of the end for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people have pushed people to shop online.
Yep.
And it's all well and good, but the only thing is you've shown people how easy it is to find the product you're looking for.
Yep.
At a lower price. I had someone on a podcast here a while back, and he said he used to have people message him and say, "Hey mate, what do you reckon about this product? Do you reckon it'll be good?" Rah, rah, rah. And he'd write back, "Yep, that'll be good, mate. Do you want me to order one in?" "Oh no, I just brought it online, and I just wanted to know your opinion."
It has changed our behaviors, and we've been very, very fortunate in Australia, and we've been fortunate in that the government stepped in and helped everyone. And if they hadn't, people would be going out of business right, left, and center, and there'd be a lot of deaths. Now, you look at, one of my sons spends a lot of time in Mexico. He said, in Mexico, everything just keeps going. People have no choice. In all these third world countries, people have got no choice. It's, they lock them up. You can't isolate if you've got no money. If the way you make money is on a street stall, you're going to go out and do the street stall, and you're going to take chances because that's what you have to do. In America, everyone's saying, "Oh, how bad it is there." The government is not stepping in to help anyone. So if your business has no one coming in, they're sending you into bankruptcy. And that's why there's the protest. And that's, and then the deaths are outstanding. And they say, "Why aren't you doing anything?" Well, either you're open or you're not open. And so if we close you down, you protest because, well, there's no money. So what the government did here is stepped in and gave everyone money. Here's JobKeeper, here's Job Finder, what was the other one? There was JobKeeper and
Job Seeker.
Yeah, and Job Seeker.
And now they've released Job Maker.
Yeah. So the government really stepped in and helped people here. Then they gave the tourist vouchers, and they've done everything they can.
How do you think that's going to affect the economy long term?
Well, for the short term, it's really been beneficial. They've kept everyone in work. They've kept everyone, and they've boosted the economy in a lot of ways. So, in times of crisis, spend money. And they've done that. I think they've done a fairly good job.
Where are they getting the money from, though?
Oh, same place everyone else gets their money, debt. Really, if you want something, they're the government. Can they write checks? Yes. Does it bring down the value of the dollar if they keep doing it? And really, that's really what this is about, is maintaining the value of dollar.
Do you reckon it hasn't dropped the dollar, though, because nearly every country is actually doing it?
I think the dollar's held pretty steadily. And I think because the economy's actually recovering because they kept us going. Now, for the places where people went bankrupt, it has to start again. So in a lot of ways, their stepping in has done nothing but keep this economy ticking over. In other places, it's collapsing.
They've only really needed to put it on pause, haven't they?
Yeah. And see, I think I was reading the other day, England is in its worst financial crisis in the last 200 years. Between Brexit and COVID, they've got nothing really to look forward to at this point in time. There's no business. Things are being frozen in time because Brexit isn't allowing certain things in.
They're nearly going to have to hit the reset button, aren't they? Everyone just go bankrupt and start again.
Well, it's getting to that point. And really, in like I said, third world countries, you read about the deaths, they've got no choice. Really, I think of places to be on the planet right now, through all of this, Australia is the best place on the planet to be.
What about New Zealand? They got rid of it.
Second best place.
Yeah, I was going to say, because not only that, they don't really have snakes or spiders down there as well. So.
No, but, if I had a choice to live here in New Zealand, I'd take here. Even though New Zealand's pretty cool.
Yeah, I suppose you kind of did have the choice to live in New Zealand when you was down there, didn't you?
I was pretty keen. Actually, I really, really liked it. And it was just, Yeah, I don't know. I had to leave the country, and I did. You get a 1 month visa, and so you have to prove you got so much money all the time. And so what I used to do is, this goes back to the days of traveler's checks and so forth. So to prove that I had money, I claimed all that my traveler's checks were lost, and they issued me new ones. So by doing that, I had double the amount of money. Now, I never spent the ones that I claimed were lost but then they said, "Do you have any money?" I've got all these traveler's checks. So they let me stay because I had money, because you always had to prove you had X amount of money. So I always had X amount of money because I claimed all my traveler's checks lost, and they issued me new ones.
Yeah, I suppose you got to do what you got to do.
Well, someone told me that trick, and I thought it actually worked quite well.
Do you reckon people still do that?
Well, traveler's checks are a thing of the past.
Yeah, I suppose it's hard now because everything's digital. They're like, show us your bank statement.
Yeah, so I don't know how they find out things like that now, and I don't know. Yeah, it was a different altogether, and I'm in a lot of ways, for me traveling around the world in those days, it's so much nicer now because you with mobile phones, you have instant access to anyone you want to see. You can FaceTime anyone.
You're not alone. Well, you're alone, but you can always touch base.
You can always touch base, and
imagine if COVID happened 10 years ago. Like, you wouldn't be able to FaceTime.
No, you wouldn't be able to talk to anyone, It'd probably go back more than 10 years, but, 15, 20 years ago, you would be, you'd have no contact with anyone. I remember before my mother died, I bought her an iPad so that we could communicate and she could see me. Before then, we didn't get to talk.
Send a photo in the mail.
Yeah, send a photo in the mail. But once mobile phones came and iPads and the rest, it was really good because she could sit there and we could have FaceTime talks. So, the opportunities that people have now and the communication is so great.
I think it's got two sides to it, though. Like, it's made people more in touch with people, but I think it's also made them less in touch with people.
Oh, I don't know.
And it's changed the way we communicate and deal with things as well, I think.
I think it's rewired our brains to a great extent too. That really we don't have to think as much anymore. And one of the comments that I made to someone not so long ago was that I used to know 50 phone numbers. I only know 2 right now, my wife's and mine. Those are the only 2 phone numbers I know. I don't have a clue what the other ones are. I just look up names.
Well, I only know 1, and that's mine.
Yeah. So, are you married?
No, well, she just saved in my phone.
Yeah. So you just
I've never needed to learn it.
Yeah. So those are the only 2 phone numbers I know. I don't know my son's. If I want to get a hold of them, I either do it on Messenger or I do it on, the ones that are overseas.
Not only that, like, not phone numbers, but you've got like Google Maps, you've got Google itself. Like, I think we're pretty dumb for the most knowledgeable generation.
Oh, I don't know about that. We have access to information,
but we've got access to all information.
We do have access to all information. I'll think of a couple. I'll think of a song in my head, and I go, "What's that song?" And I just type in 3 words, and it tells me the song. And I go, "How cool is this?"
Well, not only that, have you seen what's it called, Hound?
No.
You can hum a song to your phone, and it will bring you the song up. So if you've got a tune and it's stuck in your head and you don't know what it is, you just hum it to your phone, and it will tell you what the song is.
Well, and they have apps that, I'm doing up my garden right now that I can get an app and I can just look at plants and it'll tell me what they are.
Yeah.
There isn't the range of things that we can know now that we don't have to remember, we don't have to think about, that'll tell you about the plant, it'll tell you the root systems, it'll tell you everything that you need to know. It's amazing.
Do you reckon it's made us lazy and less inclined to learn things?
Well, for me personally, it's just the opposite. I love information, and so in the mornings, I read 3 or 4 newspapers or watch news programs. I do crosswords. I just can't get enough. And I'm just sorry I don't have more time because I would just stay on Google all the time. But it's gotten to the point now where I don't even know what to look up, so.
It's hard, isn't it? Like, I think, even me personally, like, I think I haven't taken enough advantage of the access I've got. Like, I could learn to do brain surgery by watching YouTube videos. Like, I might fuck it up, but
Exactly.
I'd be able to know enough to have a crack at it.
Well, that is the bottom line, is how much, and how many doctors now Google an ailment.
Yeah, you go to the doctors and they literally do it in front of you.
Yeah, they do it in front of you.
Yeah, they're like,
you've got
what's your symptoms? Headache? Anything else?
Yes, exactly. Here's you've got a mole? Let me look.
Well, it's funny, when my missus goes to the doctor, she tells them what's wrong with her. She goes, look, it's this, and this, and I've Googled it, and I'm pretty sure it's this. And they go, oh, yep, yeah, that's what it is.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just feel like we don't know what we've got. Like, we could literally be anything.
Yep. Well, I'm personally into self-diagnosis, so
Sometimes it's hard, though. Like,
it is. I find something and I go, I wonder what that is. I've got a headache or whatever. What causes that? I've got something.
How many times are you meant to be dead?
I don't know.
Like, in
Exactly.
Google, you always end up with like, shit, I'm going to die.
Yep. What food should I eat for this, or what should I do for that? And how.
Do you reckon it will ever phase out schools?
No, because they're a great learning area, and like I said, I think teachers deserve a lot of credit, but they're also a way for someone to care for your children while you are working. So it's bigger than that. It's socialization. It's learning. And part of the learning is learning how to get along with other people and how to work in a group and how to conform. And so school's a lot more than just learning the facts, and it's a lot more than reading, writing, and arithmetic and that. It's about socialization, and it's about it's where your friends are from.
So do you reckon it will change the length of school?
No, I think it'll just become more computer friendly. I think in a lot of schools now, every kid has iPads or they have something similar. Even my grandchildren, they've got little iPad things.
They'll come out. You'll come out smarter of school, though, wouldn't you?
Well, I was a person that never disagreed with my kids playing PlayStation. I think they're amazing. I mean, when I watch, I played a couple of their combat games, and I grab hold of the controls and I get shot. That wasn't fun. And they're into they're into the seventh cycle, and I go, how did you even get there? I can't even walk across this porch without getting shot 5 times. The mental dexterity that goes into that amazes me. The eye-hand coordination that goes into that, and watching everything that's happening. I think the mental ability of that is amazing to me.
Not only that, have you heard of esports?
I have heard of it, but yeah.
So they had a competition the other day. I think it was on Fortnite. It was like last year, and a 14-year-old won, I think, 1.4 US million.
Yep.
For winning a 45-minute game, and it's like that's his job now.
Yep.
Like, I'm pretty sure he's sponsored by Red Bull or something like that at 14 to play games.
Yep, that is its own sport now. And there was a guy in Burnie who he was working. I think he went to South Australia with a gaming. So yeah, that's his job. But like I said, the mental dexterity that goes into that, even the racing ones. I get into the car and I get around the corner and I can't do a corner at 30 miles an hour, 30 kilometers an hour, and they're doing it at 160. How do you get around the corner? Practice. And really, but it's eye-hand coordination. There's a real skill level there.
It'd be like they got these. Apparently, the army and that watch Call of Duty players and that now, and they recruit them to be drone pilots.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
So that in itself, like, I just think a lot of things will be phased out. Like, I nearly reckon that you'll say probably 20 years' time, people probably won't even drive, because you know how Tesla have like autopilots and all this now. You won't need to. You won't need to drive.
We had a discussion in Burnie over a parking lot that we've given a 50-year lease over, that we can have it back after 50 years, and I said, Why? And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, we don't know what transportation is going to look like in 50 years. I think what's going to happen within 50 years is, like you're talking there, is that if you have a car or there's mass transport of some sort, you have a car and you say, pick me up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and then go home.
And it goes home. Yep, and it just parks at home and you get it to come pick you up. Or there'll be, I think it's going to change dramatically. I mean,
I suppose your parking lot will probably turn into a charging station where cars go to charge while they wait to come pick you up.
They'll do it on their own. We won't need, self-driving cars. They've had failures with them, and how many have been successful? We don't hear that. We only hear the failures. So how well it's going, we're not hearing that now. We're only hearing that, they had a crash with one. But we don't hear that there's 10,000 that haven't had a crash.
Yeah, that are already driving.
Yeah, that are already driving themselves. So in 50 years, I don't foresee, in 50 years ago, people were still in... You
probably won't even own a car.
Well, that's quite possible. And public transport will be that good that they'll just...
It'll drive itself or come pick you up.
Yeah,
like RoboCop. I can't even remember. The movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme? Time Cop. Yeah, where his car just comes, picks him up, gets out, see you later. So it'll be interesting how it changes.
I think it'll change dramatically. And I can't imagine that we're going to be living like this in 50 years.
No.
There'll be some massive changes.
Well, did you see Elon Musk? Do you know who Elon Musk?
Oh, yeah, no, he is.
Have you heard about his Neuralink? So they're going to put that in your brain, and it's going to give you instant access to your phone, kind of thing. So he's taken out input. So he said the slowest thing to information is our physical bodies.
Yep.
So everyone's going to have it like their internet in their brain.
Well, are we all going to be microchipped at some point in time? Will they know where we all are all the time? What was that Minority Report? So,
isn't that the COVID vaccine's a microchip or something? Isn't it? I think
I don't want to go there.
That's the conspiracy.
But people are talking into their wrist now. It's going to change dramatically, and we don't know what it's going to be. But
see, I embrace my kids to have technology. Like, I was a bit against it, but like my 2.5-year-old now, she knows her way around an iPad. She has her own iPad.
Yep.
And people are like, oh, why do you do that? And it's like, she's going to be advanced because she's going to know how to use it now.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. And the technology that my kids had, and really they're streets ahead of me. And I've been using it since 286s. So, they came in 10 years after me. And they've left me for dead because their brains are more... and
it's the culture. Like, it's what they've learned. See, like, you could probably use a typewriter quicker than them.
Nah.
Never got in a typewriter?
No. Actually, I did typing in high school. So, yes, and actually I still type all my own work. I don't ever ask anyone to type anything for me. So, and really those days, the days of writing... I use an example. I don't ever write a report and give it to my secretary or anything like that. I just type it. It's quicker for me to type it than it is to write it. I don't write letters anymore.
Well, you've got spell check now.
Yeah, I like to think that I can type fast enough not to have spell check, but I can't.
So are you set to US spell check or Australia spell check?
I don't know if I'm be Australian, but there's still a lot of Z's come up in certain words. And I debate whether to put an S or a Z, like realize.
Yeah, you're like, shit, I'm in Australia.
So it just depends on my mood which one gets there. Because the spell check will underline it, and I go, well, that's how you spell realize, and then it has a Z in it.
It's hard now, isn't it? Like, I wouldn't know. Like, if I typed it into my phone and it put a Z in it, I'd be like, oh, it must have a Z in it, and then you just hit go.
And a lot of things have changed here over the last 40 years, and I don't know if they've become Americanized or whatever word you want to use, but like cookies was not a word 40 years ago. Everyone had biscuits, but you can get cookies. Brownies didn't exist. I remember going to the store and trying to buy tortillas. I used to make my own tortillas because you couldn't buy them at the store. So if I wanted to make a burrito or a taco or something...
Well, you couldn't even buy them.
No, you couldn't buy them. And actually, I remember talking to the guy at one of the bakeries. He said, well, give me the recipe. But I used to make them myself. Yeah, but made my own salsas and so forth because I grew up on the Mexican border. So eating Mexican food was part of my life, and it's part of my, it's part of who I am.
Do you still like it?
Oh, yeah, love it.
We have Taco Tuesday every Tuesday, so I only get Monday, Tuesday off. So Tuesday nights for the family, and we Taco Tuesday every night because we love Mexican too.
Yeah, Mexican food's terrific. So, but I used to have to make all of that because you couldn't buy it here. But now there isn't anything that's not accessible. And, I'd write to the family and say, send me burritos. So, they sent me a big pack of burritos.
So I suppose that they are Americanizing a lot of things, aren't they?
Well, it's just TV. It's not necessarily Americanizing.
It's like the movies, isn't it? Like controlling what's cool.
Yeah. And really, and the language you use and the way we express ourselves. Whereas, once again, I'm going back 40 years. There used to be 2 TV stations here. And that was all there was. And when the cricket was on, they'd both be playing it. And I go, well, that seems a bit Irish. What's wrong with this picture? Why do I have to watch cricket on both stations?
It's funny as well because some of the kids that you talk to, they've actually got American accents because they're watching all the American cartoons and that on TV. So they're legitimately got American accents. Yeah, language is changing, and really TV is a big factor of it. And I don't know how many people now don't have either Netflix, Stan. Someone was telling me about the Prime one the other day. Said it's Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime's only $6.99. And I thought, well, do I need 3?
You kind of do. So I've got 5.
Do you? No, I've only got 2.
Because each different one has different stuff, and that's why the Disney one's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've kind of got to get they'll trap you with one good show.
Every time.
Yeah, so you have to get that for one good show. Yeah. Like I've got one that I only watch for that one show, but it's the only place that you can get it.
Yeah. No, Stan and Netflix have been enough for me, but really Netflix, I struggle to find anything to watch.
It's hard. There's heaps of things to watch, but it's what's good.
Yeah, well,
because they have a lot of stocking fillers that's just crap to.
It's like going to the video shop. You used to go into your first releases, and then you get
five weeklies.
You get 5 weeklies. I can't find 5 weeklies, so really Netflix is full of weeklies.
Yeah.
And every once in a while you get a gem, and every once in a while they put a first runner in there, and it's really good. But for the price, it's good value.
They've really dominated as well. Like they're actually producing and directing their own movies.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. It's and really, yes, it is good value for. I don't know what I pay.
I think it's $14.99 for one screen, and then they've got 2 screens and 3 screens.
Yeah, but compared to All-Star,
yeah,
it's a bargain. I used to pay $100 a month for All-Star.
I think they've dropped down to 25 now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that might be worth getting now.
But it's only a few channels. Like there's different packs.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to watch the sport. But if you get the sport, you got to have this, and you got to have this, and you got to have that.
It's another 25.
Yeah, but I just want the movies. But with the movies, you got to get this and this and this. And so the package that I want, they don't have. So I've got to get into
$125. It's like
I only want sport and movies. I don't want the other things. But
yeah, and you can't get them together.
No, you can't get them together.
I think that's what they know.
Oh.
So you can get the basic pack, and then you've got to get the movie pack, and then you've got to get the sports pack.
Yeah. And then you got to get the history pack, and then you got to get the,
And then if your kids come over, you got to get the kids pack.
You got to get the nature pack, and you think, this is too much.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, $300 a month, you go, I'm still not happy.
For 2 hours of TV.
Yeah. So, I got out of that because I just said, this is ridiculous. It's $100 a month and what happens is the movies come on over and over and over again. So there's good points in that. It's because if you miss it at one time, but if you're, whenever you're watching, it seems like it's the same movie and you go, how's that possible? So, there's good points to all of them. I like Stan. Stan's got a lot of good things.
Have you seen Yellowstone on Stan?
Oh, yeah, fabulous.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Have you seen the whole thing?
I've seen up to where they are. Yeah.
Do you reckon he dies?
Nah.
They put a fair few bullets in him.
Yeah, no, they'll come back and the war is on.
So you don't reckon that they've used him to get people into the show, and then this is the end of his contract? See you later.
No. This is typical Home and Away. This is Dallas. This is all of the other ones where they have to have a dramatic finish to the season. And
does it remind you of Home, watching like movies
Sometimes.
Do you miss it?
Oh yeah, sometimes they had a National Geographic exhibition at the art gallery, and there was a picture of an old cowboy sitting in a bar in Wyoming, and that really, it just reminded me of Texas. It reminded me of bars that I sat in Mexico and in different places in Texas. It was just far out that feels home.
Have you been back?
Oh yeah, heaps of times, and. Every once in a while music gets to me. And then I was in Hobart, and they have at Salamanca, they have that semicircle, in the rocks or whatever, and they have music there. And it's fabulous. And they had this band played, and they played Miguelito, which is a song that you hear in Mexico all the time. It's just a classic Mexican song. And they were asking everyone to play on, to sing on. And obviously no one here knew it except me. And actually I brought tears to my eyes. I thought this is, every once in a while, I get very emotional about certain things, and every once in a while, like I said, when them singing that, it just felt so home-ish.
So what feels more like home now, Tasmania or Texas?
Oh, no, Tasmania by far. But, it's a funny thing. You get off the plane and you say, I'm home. And then you get off the plane.
And I'm home again.
I'm home. So, yeah, now the States.
It's a bit of a mess over there at the moment, though.
It is a mess over there, but that's what makes it America. It's always a mess. That's what makes it interesting. It's always a mess.
So Texas is kind of like its own little country in USA, isn't it? Like
it is.
They kind of make their own rules.
Well, every state, and people don't realize this, every state has its own laws, and every state is really its own country. Now, I think Texas is probably the 5th largest economy in the world. And California's in there with the largest economies in the world. So what would Texas's main export be? Oil and beef.
So if you were over there now, who would you have voted for in the presidential election?
Oh, I'd have voted for Biden.
Do you reckon he would do a good job? Do you still follow current events?
Oh, yeah, every day. Actually, I'm almost missing Trump. Because if nothing else, he was interesting. He was a megalomaniac. He was mental. I can't think of positives for him.
See, my positive is you've always got to hand it to him because he got to the top.
Yep. 10 out of 10.
He shouldn't have got there, but he got there.
Yep.
Like, I don't give a fuck what he done when he got there, but he fucking got there.
Yep. And really, dumb people don't get there. He's
They reckon he's going to run again.
I think he'd get...
I think is it the Republicans?
Yeah,
they want to make him their front runner on the next one.
Yeah, some of them do. I think he'd get. I think he's going to be in court so much that I think he's going to lose too much credibility. And now that they've got him off Twitter, he can't talk to anyone anymore.
I think that's bullshit. Like, I think they should have set up a thing that said, "Do you want to listen to Trump? Yes or no?"
Yeah.
Because now they've taken away, like, you could say anything about him and he can't tell you what he said.
No, that is true.
Everything could be taken out of context.
It is, but I think they took it away because he's inciting people to violence, and really he's. I think there was a thing done that he's during his presidency he lied about 30,000 times.
even after he lost, he was like, "I won."
I won, exactly.
I won.
No one else has gotten 75 million votes. That's right. The other guy got 82 million. Yeah. So no one else got 75 million. He got 82 million. It wasn't close.
No. But it was entertaining.
It was. Oh, look, I loved every minute of it. And I don't hate on him or anything like that.
I'm surprised he didn't get knocked off, to be honest.
Well, the people that would knock him off are his friends.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so fascinating stuff. It was once again, we're living through history, and this is something that will be in history books for the next. Well, they're still talking about when the last 3 impeachments. So Andrew Johnson was 1 vote away from an impeachment. Trying to think, Bill Clinton, that wasn't even close, but so there's only so many people that have been impeached. He's the only one that's been impeached twice.
Yeah.
And it always goes along party lines. And then, after it happened, the Republican, the leader of the Senate said he was guilty. But we didn't think impeachment was the right thing to do.
Would you have voted for him back then when he first ran?
No, I was a Hillary Clinton fan, actually, only because probably the most qualified person that ever ran. And, for all the times Trump called her that she should be locked up and she's done all these criminal things, there was no charges ever brought against her. There's nothing. There was nothing there. But it worked and people believed it. And really, it gets into if you lie often enough and you say a lie often enough, does it become the truth?
Do you reckon he would have got it without social media?
Yeah, because he has a way of getting the media. Yeah, and really, I give Rupert Murdoch and Fox News a lot of credit for this because they went against the norm. And really what they did is took on the conservative values. And Fox News has high ratings. And they bring... I read Fox News every day, just to get a counterbalance to reading liberal stuff. I have to read the conservative stuff. But it's funny how one paper can say one thing and another one can say the direct opposite.
Yeah.
And Rupert Murdoch's right behind all of this. I think, in my own way, I think Rupert Murdoch ruined America because he was a hater on Obama because too liberal and all these things are wrong, and he just hated on him, or the Fox News did. And so really, if anyone is ever going to get knocked off, it would have been Obama. And he was a Trump lover, so Trump could do no wrong, Obama could do no right. And I think, personally, I think Obama's one of the better presidents the U.S. has had.
Yeah, it's hard to know because you're only shown what a certain influence wants you to
That is so
see.
true.
So, from America, where do you get your American news from?
Well,
And do you trust it?
Well, that's a tricky one. Well, in the mornings I read MSNBC. I read MSN here. I read MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, and Al Jazeera.
So,
And Al Jazeera, I think, is probably the most reliable.
are they all singing the same song?
CNN, MSN sing the same song. Fox News sings the opposite song. And Al Jazeera just gives you the facts.
So, do you need to read both sides and then the truth is somewhere in the middle?
Well, I read Fox News, like I said, to give me a counterbalance. And so, but I believe the liberal press. So I believe what's seeing, maybe they're better reporters, and there's people that report on Fox News that I just don't have any time for. And so I read what they think, and I think, well, like Newt Gingrich, I'll just use him as an example. He's a disgraced ex-senator, and he's a hater, and he hates anything that's liberal. But that people follow him.
I suppose it comes back even to local council, like you said, like sometimes you need other people to put shit forward to get it passed.
Yeah.
Because as much as everyone tries, they can't put some shit aside.
No. And so, there's...
Do you reckon local council in Burnie, do you reckon some of them don't use social media as well as they should? So what?
I don't know, because I don't really follow what other people do. I just do what I do. And, I look to see if they put up posts, and I look to see what they are, but...
So, for example, the mayor, he doesn't have a page, does he?
Nobody follows it. He looks at social media because I know if there's anything about himself, he responds.
So how does he take on ratepayers' advice?
Oh, Steve has his own opinions, and he sticks by them.
Is he just chilling out at one of the many businesses he owns and has a chat to his customers, or how does he get the knowledge of what the people want, or is he only getting a small percentage of what they want?
Well, we all only get a small percentage of what they want, and we all have our own little circles. And I'm not saying that they're a circle of friends or they're a circle, but we come in contact with the same people. And you would have your own little circle here that people you come in contact. I don't come in contact with everyone, and there's no way you can. So
surely social media has made that circle bigger, though.
Well, you get to read other people's viewpoints, and you get to, like I subscribe both to the Mercury and the Exam and the not the Examiner, the Advocate. So I get to read what people are thinking, and A lot of times I agree with them. A lot of times I don't agree with them. But, for me to stay in touch with what people want, go to meetings. If you want to know what people want, go to the meeting of the Friends of the Museum, go to the meeting of the art gallery, go to the meetings. And that's how I widen my circle. I go to as many meetings as I can, and I listen to what people are saying.
So at the council meetings, how many people do you think are coming to the council meetings? Like not councillors, like, what are they, audience?
Audience? Oh, God, sometimes we get a huge crowd, maybe 10. No one's really that interested. And one of the things that we wanted to do...
Are they the same?
Pretty much.
10?
Pretty much.
Have you thought about live streaming them?
Well, we are talking... This is once again, how long do things take? Now, we've been looking at live streaming for, well over a year. And, one of the things that we talked about, do we want to do this? And my answer is yes, because through COVID and so forth, a lot of people don't go out, and a lot of, we only allow so many in. Now, I don't know what the demand is, but, on a good day, we might get 20 people there, but not a lot of people come unless there's something personally that they're interested in. Now, I think would people watch part of it if it was live streamed? So what we've had is we've been going back and forth on what sort of system we have, et cetera, and my argument's been, get someone in who knows what they're doing, set it up, get an expert in, and just get it fixed. Get a quote. It's going to cost $5,000, and we can have 4 cameras, and we can have better speakers. Well, let's just do it. And the easiest way to get something done is give it to someone who does it for a profession. Instead of us trying to figure it out ourselves and testing a bunch of different systems, just get an expert in who does this for a living and say, how much would it cost to set this up so we have quality live streaming? Now, how many people would watch? Hobart does it. A lot of councils do it. Not many people watch. I've watched the Wynyard one, and it's not good quality. So
do they take questions on the live stream and that in Hobart?
I don't know.
Would you want to take questions, or you need a moderator to come through the bullshit?
They have to put in their questions before 6 o'clock or whatever. Before the meeting, the questions have to be in. So say 7 o'clock. I don't know what time.
So do you have like a question time at the end of the meeting?
No, we have a question time at the beginning of the meeting. So any public questions they can ask at the beginning of the meeting. Now, only the mayor or general manager can answer them. Unless they specifically say, oh, Ken Dorsey, we want you to tell us what you think about this, which every once in a while happens. Not necessarily with me, but for...
So is that biased? Like, what are the questions roughly? Like, what
are you doing about something? What do what's the plan with this? When do you, it could be a question. How long is it going to take to get flowers in the CBD? So they're general questions, and usually they say we'll have to take that on notice.
5 years,
12 years.
He should just have a button. 5 years, 5 years, 5 years.
Well, we have been slow in doing things, and part of the reason is because we're trying to save ratepayers money. So the way you save money is don't spend it. That's the easiest way to save money, and that's in life and everything else. If you want to have money, don't spend it.
Sometimes you need to spend money to make money, though.
Well, councils don't make money, and that's not our job. Our job is to provide services that don't make money.
Wouldn't you be better off making money, though, so you could lower the rates?
Well, do you want councils competing with local businesses? These are the real questions. And so they tried that out at the Makers Workshop, and they had their own coffee shop, and they ran the whole business there, and it lost money because they're paying council rates, and you own your own business. How's the easiest way to make money? Is you don't pay yourself much money. The owner works on weekends for normal time, or he just works on the weekends because that's where he's making money, and the rest of the time he pays staff. Now, if you're paying staff to manage it, you're paying a manager, and you're paying them to hire staff, and you're paying that, a council can't make money. Not in a coffee shop. So in childcare, they couldn't make money. They're not geared to make money. It's not the mentality of it. Now, for an entrepreneur, someone who's going into business, their mentality is, and I used to teach business, and I'd say, what do you want? What's the purpose? Why are you going into business? And they would give me these altruistic goals, that I want to serve people. I want to make more coffees than anyone. And there's only ever one reason to go into business: make money. I mean, really, you can do all the others, but if you don't make money, you can't be who you want to be. You've got to be able to make enough money to afford to do the things that you want to do. So councils, by nature, aren't geared to make money. They provide services that there's no return. Like an art gallery, there's no real return on an art gallery. It's just something that the people wanted. So we gave them an art gallery. The art gallery and the Arts and Function Center cost us $1 million a year. Is this what people want? Well, a percentage of the people want it.
How are you knowing the percentage?
Well, we look at how many people go in, and really, once it's built, all we can do is look at traffic that goes through the door.
So before it's built, how do you decide to build it?
Well, generally, the state and federal government give us a bunch of money, and then we decide to build it. And the council has to put so much money in. But once they give you the money, they walk away. Now, we have to carry all the costs from that point on. So the more facilities you get, the more you've got to carry that cost. And then we've got to depreciate them. So there's depreciation cost all the time. So really, they're just a drain on you at all times.
How did that work with the roadside weeds and that? Like, did you just come out on top of that?
Yeah, we came out on top of it, but only because we made a lot of noise.
So what's the solution? Are they paying the council to maintain it now?
No, they're just doing it themselves, and they're doing a better job. Now, the state government is no different than the council or anyone else. If people are making a lot of noise and saying, why aren't you doing your job? All of a sudden, they show up and do their job. Now, the state growth have a contract for someone to do the roads. Now, if a council is yelling out saying, you're not doing your job, look at this mess, state growth then goes to the contractor and says, well, if you're not doing your job, we don't need you. That's just my guess on what's happened. But they aren't paying us to do it at this point in time. To the best of my knowledge, they're doing it. And they're maintaining it a lot better. But there's still, if you drive to Penguin or you drive to Ulverston or whatever, you look at the traffic islands, it's not good.
Well, I've noticed that even like in Wynyard, the last 2 years, the lawns on the highway are the longest I've ever been.
Yep.
I don't know if they've swapped contractors or their budget's dropped or what, but they're not doing it as much as they should.
Well, it could be a very good growing season, but no, I don't think they're doing it as much as they should. And yeah, maybe they've changed contractors. Maybe they're paying less. Maybe they're short a crew because of something. I don't know what the answer is, but I think the best thing for state government would be to do is pay the local councils to take care of their own roadway areas. Even though they're state roads, you contract us to do it. You pay us X amount of money, and we'll do it. But we have to maintain the staff and the equipment then.
So, looking back over your council years, what do you think would be the biggest thing you've got to happen that you're proud of?
That's a tricky one. Well, I really fought for street art. That sort of happened. I have to think about that one. I've put up so many motions and so many things have happened. I think getting the cement blocks off the waterfront, I thought that was huge, and that was hard work.
So, like, say for example, if you ended your time now at the council, no more future council, is there something looking back that you'd say to your grandkids, look, I made that happen?
I'll have to come back to you on that one. I would like to say yes. I think I've changed the culture of Burnie to an extent, and I've changed the way that we think. Not necessarily for the better, but really it's been a slog. And
are you going to keep the fight up?
Oh yeah.
How long will you just keep going as long as they'll have you?
Well, I don't really know about that. You reassess it at the end of each term or whatever, and think, do I want to do this again? Right now, it's pleasantly painful. You're almost, I don't have any tattoos. You've got tattoos, and someone said there's something addictive about the little bit of pain.
Yep.
There's something addictive about it. And the same thing is true with council. There's something addictive about the pain and overcoming the pain. And so I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's.
I suppose there'd be a lot of little wins in there as well.
Oh, there are, and there's.
Maybe are you enjoying it lately? Maybe you're not enjoying it as much because you're getting easy wins. Maybe you prefer tough wins.
I do. Actually, I was thinking one of the things I'm very proud of is I got Goanna to come play at the Australia Day, which was huge because he was totally opposed to it. I got the TAC to come to an Australia Day ceremony and speak. I'm very proud of that, actually, because that was really hard work, and that's rewarding. And to spend a weekend with Shane Howard, life could get worse, where he's playing music up at my house, and it was fabulous. So, but that was a personal victory. And like I said, to get the TAC, which is 100% against Australia Day, 100% against recognition on the day, I convinced him to come and speak, saying be part of the conversation. So, and the argument is talking to believers doesn't change anything. They already believe. You have to talk to the non-believers.
So what was their baseline of their talk?
Well, the baseline, actually, they had Dwayne Everett-Smith come up, and Dwayne Everett-Smith's a quite accomplished musician, but he just told his story. And really, he does it so eloquently. And then he sang at the end of it, and I think his statement at the end, he said, this isn't white history or black history, it's our history. It was quite a moving moment, actually. So, I went down and saw Dwayne in Hobart afterwards, and I still believe he's just gifted. He's a gifted speaker. He's a gifted singer. He's gifted, and I told him, "You're gifted. That's it."
So, where do you sit on the Australia Day thing?
Well, I'm going to go with what Robin Moore said, that every day is Australia Day. So,
isn't it kind of like Labor Day?
It's every day Labor Day. That seems sort of funny. I don't know why. What disturbs me, and actually I've put up a motion to go to Local Government Association of Tasmania, which says let's not necessarily change the date. Let's just come to a conclusion about something. And I actually find it distressing that 30% of the population want the date changed. Everyone says, 70% are in favor. That's not the problem. 30% are opposed. And I think there's easy solutions. And what I'm hoping for is that when, for me personally, is when the Queen dies, is that Australia just cuts all ties and says, we're our own country. We don't, and I don't think it'll happen before the Queen dies. And if she lives, she's like her mother, it'll be 4 years.
Five.
It'll be 2054 before she goes. Because, they have a certain longevity in them, but, and people say, oh, look at how wonderful she's doing. But it's easy to do wonderful if you got 24-hour care.
But even by then, they'll probably download her onto a computer and then she'll be a virtual queen or something. So do you think personally, what's the big deal about changing the day? What do you think it'll change if you change the day?
What I would like to see is that everyone's behind it. And really there are simple solutions. And actually I think it was Sue Hickey that said, let's just make the last Monday of January Australia Day. And then we have a long weekend. And I sort of like that idea because then you got a long weekend. And this year it was on Wednesday, which sort of was on Tuesday. I can't remember now. Throws off your week. So let's have a long weekend at the end, and let's just celebrate being Australian. And that's what really counts. And that we all uniformly agree that, so it's it's having a bet both ways.
There's no... Australia Day doesn't have to have a specific date either way from either side.
No.
So, some days it might fall on Australia, like the actual Australia Day.
Yeah.
But there's 70% that don't want it changed.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't want it changed.
Well...
Same as the 30%, I don't know why they want it changed.
Well, a lot of them do. The ones who don't want to change think that it's always been Australia Day, but it's only been a national holiday, I think, since 1989. So it's not always been Australia Day. And I think it first started in 1932 with New South Wales, and they decided that would be Australia Day, and it took until 1989 before it became a public holiday. So it hasn't been that all the time. And every state had a different one. I think the first one was for raising money for Gallipoli, which was on 30th of June or 30th of July. So they called that Australia Day to raise money for the victims and, for the injured from Gallipoli. But what day, and there's a real phenomenon here that I don't know how many countries celebrate the fact that someone else placed their flag on them. So really what we're doing is celebrating English settlement. Because that's when English settlement, when they claimed Australia, said we're at Port Phillip Bay.
But I think when you celebrate Australia Day, is that what you're celebrating?
Well, that's the date.
Yeah,
but that's not what you're celebrating.
No, that's
but there are a lot
right.
of people that celebrate that, and I've had the argument, and this has been on Facebook, that my relatives were on that boat. That doesn't change. Your relatives were always on that boat.
Say, for example, we change it to another day, and it's Hitler's birthday.
Well, there'd be objections to that.
That's exactly right. So, how would you set a date?
Well, you could do March 3rd, which was the day we became a republic. So Bob Hawke signed us into becoming a republic, and that was so we, and I think one of the original thoughts was to be Federation Day, but Federation Day is January 1st. So January 1st is already a recognized holiday, and I don't think they did it for being a recognized holiday. How are you ever going to make everyone happy? You're never going to make anyone happy. But I do, like I said, I find it distressing that 30% are opposed to it, that our politicians, the head of the university, all of these people argue against it every year, say we need to change the date.
So what's their number one argument?
Well, because it did bring about potential genocide of a race of people that have been here for 60,000 years. And really, there wasn't. There are atrocities that were committed. There's no question about that. But most of it's disease, and really that's what decimated American Indians, disease. All of a sudden these new diseases came, and we go through smallpox.
Instead of changing the day, then why don't they just change the message?
Well, they tried to do that this year, and I thought they did. I think part of it was good. That trying to think of what it was. We're in this together. We're all part of the same.
Yeah. So I think the message should be, instead of back then it was when the British landed on the shores or whatever. Why don't they say, well, the 23rd of January is the day that we celebrate all of us coming together, from this point on.
Yep.
Like all cultures coming together.
Yep.
And then that's what it is. Yes, some bad shit happened in the past on this day, but now good shit's happening every day of the shit.
Yeah. No, once again, except for probably January 26th, the day's irrelevant. I don't think that spin the wheel. It's a chook raffle. Okay, August 30th.
It's the message. It's the message.
It's the message. And really, we should all be proud and be happy that we're Australian and feel very fortunate about it. And really, that's the whole point of it, is to celebrate Australiana and to celebrate living here and all the benefits that it brings us. And I think most people here are very proud of the country.
So I don't know. Sometimes I just think people are changing shit that doesn't need to be changed.
Well, this has become very, very poignant for the Aboriginal people, and they want it changed because they see this as once again, the decimation of their race. 60,000 years, and within, there were probably well over 1 million living here, and within, less than 100 years, they're down to 100,000. So 900,000 are gone. But like I said, that's through a multitude of things. Here in Tasmania, they estimate there were 10,000, and in the end, they were just down to a handful. Now, once again, there were atrocities committed, but a lot of this was disease. And, once again, it's the decimation of a race. Now, they want recognition, and they don't want to celebrate a day that really brought almost the end of their peoples.
See, I think the message should change to they're still here and we're living together now.
Yep.
I don't know. So,
well, like I said, I think Sue Hickey's idea was probably the best one. Just the last Monday in January.
The council wanted to change the name of Burnie, didn't they?
We are dual named now.
So, what was the motive behind that, do you think?
I don't know.
Was you pro or con, or
No,
you
I voted
just
for it.
didn't really-
It's
like just your personal perspective? What has that changed?
nothing. But it's recognition of what Bernie was or where it was, and I didn't really see a problem. Bernie's probably the most innocuous name you could have. It's named after a director of the Van Diemen Land Company who's never been in Australia, never lived in Tasmania, never stepped foot here, was on the board of Van Diemen Land Company in London for a short period of time, sold his shares, made a lot of money. Why is it named Bernie? It's not, why are we naming it after, well, it was Emu Bay, and someone did suggest years ago that we change the name to Emu Bay. Another one was...
In this time, though, like where we live now, it doesn't change much, does it?
No.
Like, and it will never change. Like,
No.
it's never going to be on a map as dual name, is it?
No, I don't think so. But, the reason to change the name is, I think, is a fascinating one, and it's not to... is that if you change your name fully, every map in the world has to change. Everything has to change. And the recognition you get for that, all of a sudden Bernie, say, becomes Emu Bay or whatever name they want to give it, that would make world news. This city's just changed its name. And so, it would make Australia news. It's changed its name for whatever reason, and it's recognition of what it is and where it's going. And it's not bad to change your name, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
Even if they'd done it, though, do you reckon it would make news for the right reason?
Well, you'd have to have a good story.
And if you was to put a price tag on it, you'd be nearly up. You'd be in the billions to change the name, wouldn't you?
Well, it'd be quite expensive, actually, for all the businesses that are Bernie whatever. So,
yeah.
But that wouldn't change. That just wait until your stationery and everything wears out.
All the council vehicles, all like
But
everything.
you just change them as it happens. When you everything would stay the same, and you would just transition over a period of time.
What about birth certificates, though? Would all they need to be changed to?
Well, that's an interesting thought, yeah.
Emu Bay, formerly Bernie.
Well, no, that's interesting. I don't know. I hadn't gotten that deep.
Yeah, because it's kind of like you're erasing it.
Yeah,
Hit and refresh.
but it's a thought process. And
Do you know of any towns that's done it
no,
anywhere in the world?
no.
I don't know either.
Well, I do actually. I think it was Stalingrad's no longer Stalingrad. I don't know what it is.
What is it now?
I don't know, but it's not Stalingrad. I think they purged it.
Have they fully done it, though?
I don't know. I'd have to look at my phone.
Yeah, I might have to look at that later.
I don't think Stalingrad's there anymore.
There'd be a fair few people that still call it that, though.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that. But like I said, they were purging. Well, Stalin was a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Killed millions.
Even then, like, I don't know. I suppose I wasn't affected from it, so it doesn't really bother me.
No, I don't.
but-
Call it Stalingrad for the rest of. It's,
Yeah. Like, there's no reason for it to change in my perspective.
but people don't want to be reminded of the past, and maybe that gets back to the January 26th. People don't want to be reminded of the past. They don't want to celebrate the time that life got worse.
Yeah, it's
I don't celebrate the day that I wrecked my knee skiing.
that's not what you're celebrating, though. Like,
No, I actually agree with you.
like you celebrate your birthday,
Not anymore.
or you used to celebrate birthday. That might be a different day for me. Like, my dog could have died on that day,
Yeah.
and I'm mourning on that day.
Yeah.
But it happened. You can't erase what's happened.
No. It's history's unforgiving. It happened.
Like, what I would have done, I would have brought another dog, and then I'd be celebrating that I got a new dog on this day.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the change of the message needs to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Like, bad shit happened. Now it's time for the good shit. Make this day good.
Yep.
Don't be like the previous. Be like the future.
Yeah. Well, I see. I just remembered we're all part of the story, and that was the motto this year. We're all part of the story, and I agree with that. It's a good motto. And really, everyone's, and one of the things I said during the Australia Day ceremony is that the only difference between the immigrants that came on the first boat and the people that were swearing allegiance today is time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only difference, time. And that goes back actually to the Aborigines who started in the first place. The only difference between them and the people who are here today is time. They're coming to a new land. They're coming to food, shelter, opportunity, and hope. That's what they're coming for. So they're looking for a new life. So no different than the people who came across from Asia and settled in Australia and found their way down to Tasmania. It took them 20,000 years to come from Darwin down to Tasmania, but they're all looking for the same thing: food, shelter, opportunity, and hope. So that's no different than me or anyone else. So it's just about when the story starts.
And everyone's got a different story as well.
And everyone's got a different story. Everyone's got a different reason why they're here. I mean, you asked me questions about myself, and really a set of unfortunate circumstances, and it just kept compounding itself. And some people come here. Well, you go back to after World War II, how many Jews settled here? And then you look at the English orphans that all were sent here. There's a lot of terrible stories. But they ended up here, and really they've created a great country. They're all part of the story.
It's true. And it's stuff like that needs to be celebrated.
Yeah, and really that's the argument I've had with people on Facebook at times. I said, where's your story? Because you were on the original boat. How is your story any greater than one of these orphan kids that came from England?
Yeah.
So your great-grandparent was on the boat. That doesn't change.
It's the same as bad shit's happening every day today.
Yeah, my word it is. My word it is. How many Syrian refugees? And really we fight over giving a few people whose lives are miserable, giving them a chance. It's like
if Labor Day fell on the day that Trump started building his wall, and then they're like, I'm not celebrating Labor Day because let's move the day.
Yeah, let's move the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's a symbolic gesture, and like I said, I hope that, this is just my own personal view, that I hope that when the monarchy, I don't think people feel very strongly about Queen Elizabeth. So once she's gone, will they feel the same way about Charles? I don't know. But that's the time to change.
I think that will die out.
Well, I've thought that for a long time, but it hasn't. But really, Elizabeth's been there for so long.
My generation, I know this sounds mean, but if she died now or lived for 10 years, I don't think my life would change.
No, not in the least.
But there's still older generations that's like, oh my God, it's good. Like if the Queen came here today, I wouldn't even go look at her.
No.
But there'd be people that would flock to her and be like, oh my God. So I think once the older generation die out, so will the monarchy. Well,
I like to think that, but you never know.
Because they don't really do much now, do they?
It's a figurehead, and it's a sort of stable government that everything has to go. Yeah, I don't see the purpose. It's.
If you were to say one purpose now, what would it be for the monarchy?
Oh, I would say stability.
But what's the difference? What stability are they offering if they exist or if they don't?
Well, they have their representative here, the Governor General, and the Governor General reviews the laws that are brought into, and they swear the government in and so forth. But if we have a Governor General, why does that have to go through the Queen? Why don't we just have a Governor General?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be a president. Should he be elected is probably the only real question.
Or even then, why don't you just give that job to the Prime Minister?
Yeah. Why do we need someone else? But you need someone to look, then why do you have a Senate? Why do you have all the rest of the things? It's checks and balances.
It'd be like a president, though.
Yeah.
Because, the Queen wouldn't have Australia's best interest at heart. Top priority would be Britain.
Yeah, hands down.
So I don't understand why we just don't see you later.
Yeah, I don't either because, we don't know what to do with the Governor General. Should the government, should it be a joint session, of Labor and Liberal agreeing on someone who You know, how do you get the head of state? Or do we need a head of state? I mean, you elect a party to be in power.
It'd technically be like a president, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, they do most of the ceremonial stuff. I mean, really, as far as... And...
What do they say? Kissing hands and shaking the babies.
Yep.
So, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So, going forward for the future of you, what do you see in the near future?
Oh.
What, got any big plans coming up? Business-wise, council-wise, personal-wise?
Yeah, I always have, you know, we live in an illusionary world of things that we want. And I'm a real believer in that you set goals on what you want. And I believe you can virtually have anything you want within reason if you know what it is. So there are certain things I am working for. I'm not going to talk about them right now, but there are things that I want. Now, whether I achieve them or not is another story, but I am working towards certain things that yeah, I always have a future idea in mind and where I want to be and what I want to do. And really, if there's ever a lesson that I had to teach someone, know what you want. And really, that's the trick in life. What do you want? And that's the hardest answer.
See, my lesson would be for people to just do it.
Yeah, no, but you got to know what you know, what are you doing it for? I want this and and really you just have to be clear on what you want. If you want to be, and one of the examples I used to give to people about this was you see someone driving down the road with a big 4-wheel drive and a boat behind him, and you say, how did he do that? And I said, simple, that's what he wanted, you know? And sometimes you achieve your goals. You might be just driving an old ute and a little boat in the back, but you wanted a ute and you wanted a boat. So, you know, you have to be specific on what you want, but you have to know what you want, and you have to have something in mind on where you're going.
See, I would be more you need to know how to get what you want, because what you want could change on a daily basis.
Well, true.
And I think a lot of people don't know, like they look at what they want, but they don't look at how to get what they want.
No. Well, that's, you know.
And no one's going to come and go, here you go, Ken. Here's your key to your boat and your 4-wheel drive. Off you go. Go take that.
You know, like, I think most people just drift through life, you know, and I'm guilty of that too. So I'm not being critical of anyone here.
And that, honestly, that is what some people want. They just want to.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to drift through life. And, you know, if you look at your life as being in the middle of the ocean and you're an ocean liner and you're just cruising along and you're happy cruising along, but you have no direction, you'll never get to where you wanted to get because you don't know where you're trying to get. You're just happy cruising along. So you might be doing circles, but life's not bad. But if you have somewhere you want to get to, then you have a possibility. You have a map. And so then what you have to do is, you know, get back into what you were saying. How do I get there now? Okay, this is what I want. How do I do it? And you figure it out. And I think most people find a way to get what they want within reason.
I think it's small steps as well. Like you can't just go for the big thing. Like sometimes you have to do shit that you don't want to do to get the things you want.
I want to be a multimillionaire. Well, let's start with 100,000. Let's start with a realistic number. Let's start with, let's start with 20,000.
It's like I want to be a multimillionaire, but I don't want to work more than 25 hours a week.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, 20. You're making me work too hard.
So if you had to give your previous self some advice that you think would restructure your whole life, what would it be and when would you have given it to yourself?
Well, in the way my life's turned out, I would have made a decision to stay here 20 years sooner. I would have, because I held off making decisions because I wasn't staying.
Right, I know what you mean. So you came here, but you never fully planned to stay.
No, I was always going. And it didn't matter, and the timing was always wrong. When I wanted to go, the dollar was down. When I didn't want to go, life was good. So, timing's a very important thing in life. But I think in hindsight, and hindsight's 20/20, and I'm not real sure anything would have changed dramatically. But for me, and this came up earlier in the discussion, if I would have made a decision that this is what I wanted to do, say 10, 15 years earlier than I did, my life would have changed dramatically. And once I made the decision that I was staying in Australia, this was home, and this is where I was staying, my life changed dramatically, and all for the better.
So was that just like not laying down deep roots, or how would you have changed it? Like, what would have been different?
What would have been different? I wasn't making any long-term decisions. I was only making short-term decisions on only things that met immediate needs. And I'd say that's pretty much like most people do. So don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I had no idea where I was going.
Like you was after the quick dollar.
Well, I was just after satisfying current needs. And I wasn't thinking of the future because I wasn't going to be here in the future. So why would I worry what I'm going to do in 10 years? Why would I buy a house, or why would I do this? Why would I do that? I'm going. So why would I expand? You know, I owned a house, but why would I expand what I'm doing? Because I'm going.
So how long ago did you know that this was it?
Oh, it's probably 20 years. And like I said, I don't know what brought it on. I'm going to, say something stupid like I just woke up one morning and said, this is it. Just make a decision and stick by it. And really that's a hard thing too, because we get caught up with 5 things in our head all the time. And which way do I go? So this was a pretty simple one. Am I going or am I staying? So I'm staying. So now that I'm staying, I can start making real decisions on my future. And really, like I said, my life has been the best thing I've done. And when I look back and you say, what would I have done differently? I would have made the decision either to go sooner or make the decision to stay. And, I don't know which one was the right decision. But when I made the decision to stay here, that was the right decision.
So now where you're sitting, do you still think it was the right decision?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Without a doubt. I should have gone after 3 years like I was going to, because I did have plans on what I wanted to do in the States. So I left what I thought was maybe
I suppose you only came over here for a holiday, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't come to stay. And then I got a job, and one thing led to another. But I did have plans on what I was going to do in the U.S., and I already had those in place. I just had to go back. I just never got back.
So, all right, one of the last questions. If you could have, like, what's one biggest regret that you've had in your life? The first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I have a lot of regrets because I have this theory that everything in life brought me to where I am right this moment. And if I'm happy with where I am right this moment, then it's all good.
And have you always felt that way?
Well, it's just a philosophy I've picked up, probably in the last 15, 20 years. I don't really know that really everything in my life brought me to where I am right this moment. And if I'm relatively satisfied with where I am right this moment, the decisions were good. There's things I could have done. There's things I regret. There's always things you regret, and I should have done, and I didn't do. And, I hurt people back home. I should have stayed, and I should have done this. But really, it's all made me the person that I am, and it's brought me to where I am. And where I am is a pretty comfortable spot. So it can't have been all bad.
So your motto on life, what would it be?
Well, stay positive. Look for the positives in things, and fight, really fight. And really that's one of the reasons if you want something, you have to fight for it. It's not easy, and really it's not meant to be easy. But if you want it and you fight, even if you lose, you've tried. You've done your best to get something. And it doesn't matter that you don't actually achieve it. You've given it your best effort. So, I've told my kids this, fight. Be willing to fight for what you want. It might be fighting the bank. It might be, whatever you believe. And other times, know when to just bail out.
It goes back to the know what you want, doesn't it? And then just fight for it.
Yeah, find a way. And really, the great thing about being a human is we're adaptable and we can find a way. All you got to do is use your brain a little bit and find a way, figure it out. And, I used to tell my kids with the monkey test, if something was behind something, how do you get that out of there? It's the monkey test, find a tool to get it out of there. And really, that's how they tested intelligence in monkeys. They put things out of their reach. And you know what animal turned out to be the smartest?
Oh, I don't know.
A crow.
Really?
Yep, a raven. Crow. If you put food out of their reach, they find a way to get it. They're very clever.
I suppose the opposite goes where you need to know that it's too far out of your reach, so you got to let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not possible. I mean, I'd like to buy a $6 million building, but...
You need $6 million to buy a $6
million.
Or you need someone to
loan me the $6 million. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm used to fighting banks. That's, in some way, it's painful. And really, now that after the Royal Commission into banking, it's even more painful. And I really feel for people who are trying to borrow money because it is painful. Yeah. How many pieces of broken glass do you want me to walk on? You want to know everything about my life.
It's a hamster wheel too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Especially like, for example, people that pay rent, they're paying rent for $380 a week. The mortgage on the house would be $170, but they're like, you can afford $380 a week, but...
You can't afford $170.
Yeah, you can't afford $170, sorry. Like your groceries are $300 a week.
Yeah, no, it's... They really put you through the ringer. They've got formulas, and they say, well, you can't afford it. Well, I was affording, I won't give specifics. I mean, I was affording $2,000 to $3,000 a month for a place, and when I went down to $100 a week, they say, you can't afford that. And I go, what? What does that make any sense whatsoever?
I was talking to a business owner the other day. He's an older electrician. He had a house down in Sisters Beach, and he was going to sell it. He had $600,000 in equity. And he came up here and he wanted to buy a new house to go into. He went to the bank and they said, how much will you lend me? And he goes, look, 120 grand is the best I can do for you. He said, but go and get a job for someone and I'll lend you 800,000.
Yep.
And he goes, but I'm self-employed. I've got good books. I've paid me loan off. I have 600,000 equity in this house. And like, yeah, sorry, mate, 120 is the best I can do.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, unbelievable. You got to be joking. How did I get, I've had some real run-ins with banks, and one of the ladies called me a liar. She said, there's no way you could have done that. And I said, I don't know how you can say that. It's on paper.
Here's the evidence.
Here's the evidence. You said you can't afford that. And I said, it's right here. What can't you see? And she said, you're lying. And I said, I'm really offended by that. I said,
time for a new bank.
Yeah, time for a new bank. And really, I have gone back to this bank and she won't deal with me.
Yeah, right. It's probably a good thing, though.
Hey, no, it's a good thing. I don't care. They have rules, and I understand that, but she just refused to listen to me. She said, there's no way you can be ahead in your payments. I said, I don't know how you can say that.
I am.
She says, not possible. Of course it is. So it's fascinating. It's a fun game to play, and sometimes it's very, very frustrating. And
well, I tell everyone, I say Monopoly is real.
It is. There's no doubt about that.
It's not a game. Like, it's real.
Yep.
I don't know about other people, but I play my life like I play Monopoly.
Yep.
I just buy everything that I land on and hope for the best.
Yep.
Because at the end of the game of Monopoly, like, it's going to go either way. Yep, it's houses and hotels. Yeah.
And cash is still king.
See, I think of it like it's risk. Like, you've got to risk it to win. If you play it safe, you'll lose because someone else will get there first.
I'm a very firm believer that if you want to get ahead in life, you have to take chances. And if you don't take chances, I mean, you can lead a good life, and it's not necessarily, and I don't know, getting ahead. And really, these are these really interesting conversations. What's ahead? What's winning? It's different for every person. But if you want to be, unless you've got a job that's paying you hundreds of thousands a year, you will not get anywhere unless you take some chances.
The way I process risks, my motto is, if tomorrow looks better than yesterday, do it. And then that's how I get through and take the risks.
Yep.
And then if it fails, I say, well, tomorrow looked better than yesterday, so I took that risk. And then that's pretty much how I take on life in a whole from now on. And it's been up and down, but mostly it's been good.
Yeah. you almost have to know down before you know what up feels like. You know?
See, but I love down because once you're down, the only way is up.
Well, it is. And, you know, it doesn't matter how far you fall. It's how quick you get up. And really, that's when the fight comes out. That's when you have to start fighting. You know, this is what I want.
And that's when the best work's done.
It is, because you're fighting for whatever it is, your existence, you know, and really this is when the joy of being a human is really there because you are having to figure it out. You are using your brain to do things. You know, you're the crow. You're passing the monkey test. It's
just on you. Like in this world.
It is on you.
In this world, no one's going to help you.
No, it's all on you. And, you know, and if you succeed, they'll say you're lucky. If you fail, they say, oh, he's an idiot.
Yeah,
now, I always knew he would fail.
Yeah.
And everyone was a doomsdayer, and everyone say, oh, he never had a chance, and, oh, that wouldn't work. That was a dumb idea. But for some reason it worked. And the reason it worked was because the person who was driving it made it work.
I hate the one culture I hate about life at the moment is tall poppy syndrome. Like everyone hates you, and then other people are rooting for you when you're down, and then when you're up, everyone that hated you now likes you, and everyone that rooted you now hates you.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, I don't know. I just try to get through my own life.
Like,
I don't.
When you joined council, did you ever experience it when the nail that sticks out gets hammered?
Oh yeah. Oh look, I've been hammered in council. Trust me. It's some of the worst things in my life have been done to me since I've been on council. You know, and some of the worst things that have ever been said to me is since I've been on council. And the more I've been involved, and really now I've got a thicker skin. And in all sincerity, it hurt. You know,
it makes you think less of humanity. I think.
Well,
like you show when you stick out, you actually see people's true colours. I think.
Well, or maybe they all saw my true colors. I don't really know. I don't. But really, some of the things. Yeah, I'm very disappointed in some of my fellow councillors. But, you know, I'm over it now. But for a period of time, it's stuck in my craw that, you know, you would do that.
See, but the way I look at it is if you can go home and lay in bed and accept and be happy and your family's happy with what you've done, who gives a fuck what everyone else thinks?
Well, you have to take that attitude. But really, you know, we all do take on board what other people say. We do take on board that people attack you. That you do take on board that people don't like you, you know, or they're opposed to you regardless of what you think or say. But in the end, you just have to be true to yourself.
And it's hard because, like, even though you've got thick skin, shit still gets through every now and then.
Oh, it does. There's no doubt about that. That hurt. You don't want to say, you hurt my feelings.
Yeah, no. You just want to go, whatever. And then you go home and you're like, fucking oath.
That hurt my feelings. And then you lose sleep over it because you think, it's... But really, I've gotten a lot thicker skin, and really, I don't cop as much grief now. I guess
the hardest thing is to not, I wouldn't say retaliate, but not hold a grudge.
No, that's the best part.
Yeah, but I think that's that, because sometimes you just can't.
No, you got to let it go, and I can't undo the past. All I can do is work on the future. So yeah, I can't undo that. So that was done. But really, things have changed a lot. New council, and I think probably what happened to me when I first got into council, I came in and I was full of energy. I had full of ideas. There were a lot of things I wanted to do.
And they're like, "Hang on, mate, slow down."
Yeah, slow down. No,
5 years.
No,
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, 10 years, 10 years. Oh, we've looked at that, but we didn't do anything. Well,
that's a dumb idea.
Dumb idea. But and then they were angry because I was in the paper and they were in the paper. I said, "Well, I've got ideas. You know, come up with ideas. You'll be in the paper." So yeah, I was under assault for a period of time in there.
Who's this new bloke?
Yeah. What does he want? I wanted to do things, and people think it's. I don't know what people think. I had no other interest in progressing Bernie.
So does that make you want to think, like, when these new councillors come on, do you try and be the person that you wish you had? Like, if they come up with an idea, you just go, no, that's shit.
No. Well, the funny part with council is there aren't that many new ideas. You know, in reality, they're recycled ideas that just keep coming up that we don't do anything about. You know, like street art came up probably 5 times. There's probably been more motions than that. And what do we got? Not much. You know, because no one can actually make these things happen. And this is the problem with council is really it's better off. I think we're better off subcontracting a lot of things. There's an idea. Let's give this person 10,000 and you make street art happen. But you give it to council officers, and this is no criticism of them. They've got 20 other things on their plate, and it just gets pushed to the side. And they try to make it work, but it just doesn't. It's not in their nature.
What I think as well with councillors is they get criticised too much. Like, oh, Ken Dorsey said he was going to get us free park, and he fucking hasn't. Like, fuck him. He said he was going to do it, and he hasn't done it. But it's like, I don't think people know that you can't just go and go, free parking.
No, I got no hope. It's once again, it's got to be at least 5-4.
See, and I think that's where the council meetings need to be live streamed or videoed or something, so you can be like, hey, if you look, I push for it, and these 3 people said no. Well, go and harass them.
There is and I've come into criticism for this because when I lose motions, I'll put up how people voted. And so,
do they carry on about it?
Well, they don't like it. And I said, well, if you're not proud of the way you vote,
don't vote that way.
Don't vote that way. So you should be proud of the way you vote.
See, I think if you vote a certain way, you need to say, I voted this way because of this.
Yep.
And that's how it is.
And I think how people voted should be on each, should be part of the information session. So what we do now is we put information in there and what we passed and what didn't pass. But we don't tell people how everyone voted. I think people need to know how you voted.
See, because they could go on there, if they, say for example, you voted no to free parking.
Yep.
You could go on your Facebook and be like, yes, I voted no because I think it will affect the ratepayers too much.
Yep.
And then you'll know why. But I think that they're probably scared of saying, look, I voted no because Ken Dorsey brought it up, and three weeks ago he said no to one of my ideas, so I'm saying no to his idea.
Well, there's politics being played. But, the bottom line is, if you're not proud of the way you vote, don't vote that way. It's pretty simple. Stand up for what you voted for.
Can you choose not to vote?
No.
You have to vote.
You have to vote. It's a yes or no. If you vote, you can't abstain, and abstention is a no vote. Now, people have walked out of the room so that they don't vote, so their vote won't be recorded.
So have you done a no vote when you thought it was a yes vote, or you've done a yes vote when it should have been a no vote?
Yep.
And how do you decide that?
Well, sometimes you don't want to be the odd man out. And so if the vote's 8-0, what difference does it make if it's 9-0? And I'll give you an example of that. We had a vote on the skate park and upgrading the skate park. And the motion that passed was that it needed more shade cloth and artificial turf on the dirt mounds. Now, I've talked with enough people at the skate park. That's not what they wanted. So we're going to spend $25,000 to do those 2 things. It's not what people at the skate park wanted. But I ended up voting for it because the vote was 8-0 to spend $25,000 to upgrade the skate park and do these things. And I argued on the night. I said, that's not what they want. And to the credit of the council officers, they went and did community consultation, and that's not what we did. And so we spent about $40,000. We upgraded the skate park and moved the area out so they got rocks off of it and put it in an area for junior people and so forth. But the motion that passed was to upgrade the skate park for more shade cloth and artificial grass on the hills.
So why did you vote no?
No, I voted for that.
So why did you vote for that?
Well, primarily because we were going to spend $25,000 on the skate park, and it was something is better than nothing, and it was going to pass anyway. There's a couple things I voted for that we're going to pass. So if it's 8-0, if it's 8-4 and 0-1 against, yeah, I don't know. I mean, really get caught up with a couple things. There's a couple things I voted for that I got pressure in council, and I said, well, and so I voted for them, and I really regret voting for them. But,
So have you ever thought that other people have voted like that way because everyone else voted that way as well? So really it could have swung the other way?
Well, every once in a while, yes. You've only got, you read all the information, and then you're not meant to make a decision until you hear the arguments for and against. So, some people discuss it before the meeting. I don't ever talk to anyone about how they're going to vote.
Do you stress on it? Do you be like, shit, did I make the right call? Or you just like, nah, this is done, move on to the next one?
Oh, I stress over things at times. So, there's things that, like the skate park's a perfect example. I was really, really sorry I voted for that because I know that's not what they wanted. And I got hammered for that. And they said, why would you vote for that? I said, well, something's better than nothing.
But then it got turned around, I suppose.
Yeah, then it got turned around. And I give the council officers 10 out of 10 for that. They went to community consultation. They got skaters in, and there was still dissent. You can't
please everyone.
No, and the worst part about it is we call for community consultation. We ask for people to come in and give us their opinion, and no one shows. And then when you do something, they say they didn't know. But how did they know that we were doing something? Because it was on the same medium that tells you that we wanted you to be involved in the process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, if they pick up on Facebook that we're doing something, they must have seen the notice on Facebook saying, we're looking for people to be, if you want to have a voice in the skate park, come to this meeting.
It's care factor. It's like, I don't need to say anything because someone else will.
Yeah, so, I went to one meeting, there were two of us there. Me and someone else on the skate park. So I went to the skate park meetings. There's no one there, so they had to go further afield. And then, people that I know personally jumped. They were giving me a hard time for doing something about it. I said, I invited you to this personally. If you don't get involved, you can't have a say afterwards. You can't complain afterwards. And really, maybe that gets back to why I'm on council. I can't complain about something if I didn't try to do something about it myself.
So you think more people should just speak up?
Oh, yeah, every time. Yeah, the more people, the better. And the more voices we hear, the better. If you have a problem, tell me.
All right. So on an ending note, what would be one thing that you think people should know?
Well, most of the councillors are accessible. All you have to do is talk to them.
Not all of them are accessible, though.
Well,
in some way.
In some way. I mean, really, I'm accessible anytime you want to send me a message, put it on Messenger, put it on my Facebook message. I will respond.
So what's that? Ken Dorsey, Bernie City Council?
Yeah, just vote one Ken Dorsey. And the only reason it's still vote one Ken Dorsey is they won't change. Facebook will only let you change your name so many times. I would just put Ken Dorsey, Bernie City Council, but I put vote one Ken Dorsey, and it's just stayed vote one Ken Dorsey. So it's probably not a bad one.
Yeah, just leave it in people's minds.
Yeah. So every time they see vote one Ken Dorsey, does it work? I don't know.
So pretty much on an ending note, if anyone has a say it if they need to you.
Yeah, well.
And you'll pass it on.
Yep. I said I'm looking at more toilets. Like I said, well, I have more toilets than anyone else in the world. But really, if you have concerns, and I've put up motions for people that, like I said, I'm not necessarily personally believing, but
I think you're pretty good at letting everyone know what's going on.
Well, I try to.
Like, no offense to the other councillors, but on Facebook and social media, I think you've got the strongest word out there, or the most informative.
Well, the thing that surprises me is that, I just put these posts up because this is what I'm doing, and I like to let people know what I'm doing. And some arbitrary person will say, oh, I saw you were at that meeting. Really? How did you know that? Because they don't like it or anything like that, so they just saw it.
Yeah, and then they just keep scrolling.
Yeah, they just keep scrolling. They just saw it. And, I like to let people know what I'm doing.
All right. No dramas. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving me the time.
No, actually, I've enjoyed it.
It's good to hear. So, if anyone wants to have a chat to Ken, vote one Ken Dorsey on Facebook, or come into the council and on
come to the council, or just send the council a message saying that you want to talk to me.
And just speak up.
I'll meet with you anytime. I go to people's houses on a regular basis. People have real concerns, and really they look to someone to help them. So I like to think that I'm that person.
Yep, cool. All right, thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, good. Thank you.